All right. Good morning. Good morning. Oh, I gotta stop singing on stream. I literally was just about to tell you a story about me singing on stream, and I was just about to tell you why I gotta stop, and then I started it again. I really am autistic. Okay. Happy Pride. Before we get into our Pride TikToks for this morning, I wanted to say that I always struggle with this line between over explaining and being transparent, and also sharing epiphanies and sharing like realizations that I think could help other people. So a few weeks back, I told you guys that I got a message from somebody that really impacted me about singing on stream, how they said, I had to stop watching your streams because I have sensory issues in relation to you singing. Maybe it's the microphone, maybe it's the da-da-da. And I was so impacted by this message because they said they watched the clips, but they forward through the singing parts, that I was like, oh, I should stop singing on stream. And when I shared that, people were like, no, like, be yourself. Like, I like when you sing da-da-da-da. But here's the thing. Remember years ago when the debate bro bubble was, hating on me really hard because they're stupid? And remember when they were like, oh, is it Brittany's BPD that she's singing on stream? No, it's called autism and it's called a STEM. And also I'm a theater kid. Okay. And also, I stim sing all the time. Like I stim sing even when my partner and I will be having like a very serious conversation. And sometimes it's really hard for me not to just like hum or something. And I have to make sure that I don't do that during serious conversations because it's kind of hurtful, but it is a stim. It is just my body defaults to always having a song. But at the same time, okay, so the boys making fun of my singing, thinking it's insanity, would never make me stop singing on stream. Like, I do not care what these boys think, right? But if somebody comes to my chat and says, Britt, I love your streams, but I have to skip them because of my sensory issues because you're singing, my brain goes, well, hold on. I can stop singing on stream, right? How hard could it be? Even though I accidentally just opened up stream by singing. Oops. Like, but how hard could it be? Now, obviously, it's not going to be so easy, but I think I could do it. I think I could stop singing on stream so it could be more inclusive of a space. But check this out. You might say, but Brittany, why is this so specifically different? And it's specifically because they said sensory issues. They specifically said sensory issues, and it really stayed with me. So check this out. Michael Burns. I like Michael Burns. I like Michael. I'm watching Michael Burns stream last week. I usually have a stream in the background while I edit, or I'm usually watching stuff while I work. And here I am enjoying Michael Burns' stream. And then he gets his fucking sound machine. This little like auto-tune sound machine. And he kept using it. And it triggered my sensory so badly that I was like angry. I was angry. And I was like, oh, I get it. I was like, uh-oh. And so I almost told Michael Burns to cut it the fuck out. And then I realized like he liked it and I didn't want to take it away from him. And also his chat was divided. Half the chat was like, Michael, please stop. And then half the chat was like, no, Michael, embrace it. And I'm going to be honest with you, ever since he posted that video or ever since he did that stream and I got triggered sensory wise, every single time I see his thumbnail now, I don't click on it. For the last week, it made me not even want to click on one of his videos. And I was like, oh yeah, just as from even a business perspective, this can't be good. If my singing turns away people so drastically, like that is a business faux pas. Like I have run my business into the ground. The fact that I now see Michael Burns in the thumbnail, and if I see that machine or anything that thinks about it, I go, no. And that's just from a neurodivergent perspective. This isn't us trying to appeal to neurotypicals. This is us actually thinking about neurodivergence because it's primarily neurodivergents that are going to have a problem with the sensory issues. I'm autistic. And the sensory issue was so triggering that it made me so upset. I was like, no, absolutely not. And that's the point. So it's not even trying to appeal to neurotypicals, right? Now, chat says, what if it also welcomes others in? It statistically will not welcome more people in than not. It wouldn't be worth it. The amount of people it would welcome in just wouldn't, I think, counter the amount of people it would exclude, right? I just don't think so. But it could. I just don't think I've seen anything that indicates that. Because remember, I am obsessed with YouTube. Like the way Mr. Beast is obsessed with YouTube, only different. I'm not a capitalist. But I know for a fact, well, I know from my observation that more people are less likely to watch, even from an individual, like a lived experience, than people are to watch. I don't think soundboards ever brought people in. I don't think people are like, oh, I started watching because they got a soundboard. Like, how San recently got a soundboard and I actually fucking hate it. Even though it's a little funny, I hate it. I hate when these men all bring in soundboards. Like, I was watching before the soundboard. Now that you have the soundboard, it ruins the stream. So it kind of like, even like, H3 kind of made it work with Zach, but even so, like, you have to be very skilled when using a soundboard. And it feels like different when you have a sound engineer and then when you just like are doing it yourself. Do you know what I mean? So I think there's something there that's, yeah, like, I think if you're good with it, it's good. Like, I used to think, again, it's a skill and not everybody has the skill. That's how I would see it. Not everybody has the skill to use the soundboard well. And if you don't use it well, I don't think it's worth it. That's how I think about it. Discord said that's how I feel about Pearly videos with her singing, particularly yours doesn't bother me, but it seems to bring her joy. I just don't know. I just know it's not a video for me. Yeah, see, things to think about. So again, if the thing you're doing brings in more views, fine. If the thing you're doing is keeping people away from your stream, not worth it. Because I would rather my message get out and I'd rather invite more people in than exclude them because, of this thing, and I missed Michael Burns's show this week. I really missed it. And the fact is I couldn't enjoy it because of this fucking sound machine. I just could. And it's not his fault. Like, I'm not blaming, right? I'm not blaming Michael Burns. I'm just saying, wow, what a realization for me as a creative to be like, oh yeah, like if it turned me away from Michael, then how many people are being turned away from my videos because of this, right? So let me see if I can even show you. Let me see if I can show you. Okay, so as an example, he had this video saying, why isn't the left more fun? And I was like, oh, fun. I'm going to click on that. But then his pinned comment said, don't worry, guys, this is the last time I'll be aggressive with the sound effects, but there's nothing I can do to change it now. So we have to accept the things we cannot control. And I skipped this video because I was like, I already saw this on a live stream. I don't want to hear this machine again. Let's see if he shows us.
Video. But yeah, I want to read this. So bouncy, the subtitle, bouncy castle. Here's one. I think it was like an animal for chain. Kind of told myself it's more human. It's the U.S. right? That like, can you just pet around? It's recent white.
Oh, there it is again.
Like social events on the left. The left.
That sound makes me nauseous.
That's kind of what I wonder.
Yeah. Absolutely not, Michael Burns. And that's what I'm saying. Like, if I have a physical, I feel like I have a migraine. I have a physical nauseating reaction to this. So if I ever do anything like that on my stream, you guys have to tell me, because absolutely fucking not. But I love that he's experimenting. I think that's fine. I just had the realization as a watcher that I avoided his content because of that. You know what I mean? It like, oh, I feel so sick. I feel like I've just been on a roller coaster, and I get motion sickness. So, smells make me nauseous. Movement makes me nauseous. If a screen is moving in a particular way, I get nauseous. I'm very sensitive, right? Chad said I have a headache immediately. Exactly. Oh my God. It's giving Ross in the Friends episode with his keyboard. I love that episode. So again, again, I like that we're experimenting. Oh my God, I have a headache. I literally just I think I just gave myself a headache. I literally want to stop stream right now. I feel so physically unwell. Isn't that amazing? So that's what I'm saying. I'm saying like, this is serious. Like even, you know what I mean? Yeah. It's amazing what our brains and our bodies, like how much free will do we have if that sound machine makes me want to literally quit my life? Isn't that amazing? Anyways, all of this to say, things to keep in mind, just an epiphany I had this morning where I was like, oh, this is the connection. Yeah. All right, let's take a cleanser. How it feels being the first openly gay person in my Persian bloodline. Oh, I feel better instantly. Okay. Okay, all right. Woo! Okay, we love her. Yes, queen. Let's go ahead. First of all, let's like that TikTok. And then let me show you this adorable story that might make you cry.
So when he was little, I tried to do some outdoor activities with him.
This is his dad speaking. Okay, Brian's getting married.
We did turkey hunting, dove hunting, fishing on Chesapeake Bay, different activities. But my brother-in-law Bill is here tonight. We were up at his farm and gonna try deer hunting. And it was real early in the morning, real cold. Not two of Brian's favorite things, but Brian elbows me. He said, Dad, I know how to get back to the house if you want to keep on hunting. Fast forward about 10 or 15 years, and Brian comes to us, lets Sherry and I know that he's gay. And my first thought was, how can I change this? And then we met Seth, and we got to know Seth. And after seeing them together, the love they have for each other, I knew it wasn't about changing Brian anymore, it was about changing me. And Seth, with open arms, we welcome you to our family.
You know, parents say they'll take a bullet for their kid, but will they heal for their kid? You know, happy Pride, everybody. All right, some disturbing Pride news.
New at noon, protest this morning in Webster as officials there took down the pride flag flying above Town Hall. It just went up Monday for the first time ever in honor of Pride Month. Ron Spitzer was there.
The pride flag is no longer raised over Webster Town Hall despite opposition.
My children are proudly gay and they need someone that will represent them and not let their voices die and to make them feel safe.
That's town staff, including the town supervisor, trying to get to the flag in order to remove it, despite a protester physically blocking them. That's after Thursday night's town board meeting where the board passed a resolution to only show certain flags on town property, such as the American flag and the state flag, which is what some people who attended the meeting were hoping for.
Government buildings are not private platforms. They represent every resident. Equality, regardless of background, identity beliefs, or affiliations. Once the town begins selecting certain social or demographic groups for special visibility on government flagpoles, it is no longer acting as a neutral public institution.
On Monday, town leaders raised the flag to mark the start of Pride Month. The moment drew a lot of reaction from the community. The measure did pass 3-2 to the disappointment of Webster's town supervisor.
This is something that is near and dear to my heart. This is something that I have had to live through with friends and family. There was the community outpouring of support for this, for being recognized, for being seen, has meant everything to me. While I'm disappointed, and it is unfortunate what happened last night, I will respect the policy set forth by my colleagues.
The town supervisor says that he's not sure if the flag will be raised again. Reporting in Webster, Ron Spitzer, News 8.
Crazy. Went up, went down. All over a rainbow, all over a rainbow. Ugh, so unnecessary, huh? Other things that are unnecessary. So I want to talk about as we move through today's show, I want to talk about politics, expectations, protest, very briefly. This is a pretty light Friday today, guys. I'm a bit low on spoons, but I want to talk about some thoughts I had over the last few weeks, and I've got a lot of really encouraging messages this morning in particular from people that, especially men in the audience, who just said like, hey, I appreciate you opening my eyes to some of this, the patriarchy of it all, really. And it's so loud right now. There are so many men who are so passionate gathering for anything but something that would help everybody else. And it's amazing to see the comment section of this video I'm about to show you said, like, I wish people would be this passionate about politics. And it's not just that, because men are political, but they're not as technically political as a group. Even though it's Men's Health Awareness Month, as an example, how many TikToks have you seen about it? I've seen like a few, but generally haven't seen a lot. Actually, let me see if I can find this one really fast to show you. Oh gosh, where did I save this one? Like, men really struggle to gather together except to blow shit up. And I would love to see that change for them, but we can't do it for them. I think a lot of women tend to think, okay, I'll do it for them. And I'm saying we can't rally on your behalf, right? And even if you're non-binary or a trans man, like, we can't rally on your behalf because you don't want us around you, right? So you have to, as a collective, rally for you without it being about throwing other people under the bus. So check out this TikTok. This is one of the only TikToks I saw about Men's Mental Health Awareness Month.
Public service announcement. If you are homophobic, you don't give a fuck about men's mental health. I love that Pride Month and men's mental health awareness. That happens at the same time. I love it because there are so many homophobic men who are suddenly pretending like they care a lot about men's mental health. A lot of dudes who are the same people making edits, making jokes, making memes about Plaque Boy Max doing this shit, or about Caleb Williams painting his nails, or Jared McCain dancing in TikToks, or the way that Carl Anthony Towns walks. These people are famous, and I'm sure that they can handle people making jokes about them, blah, blah, blah. But the reason why this is a joke and the reason why people are turning these people into memes is because men are still homophobic as shit. The reason why our mental health is still in the fucking dumpster juice is because men keep on punishing other men for not performing manliness the way that you want them to. What the fuck are you saying about the gay people that you go to school with? What are you saying about the gay people in your community that are your neighbors, right? What are you saying about the gay people that you work with? I don't know what you're saying to their face. I can only imagine what you're saying behind their back. What are you saying about gay men to your friends who might be closeted? Because we care a whole lot about men's mental health, except for if that man is gay, right? Honestly, they don't even have to be gay, but if they just perform their manliness or being a man in a way that you just don't get, or you think is weird, or blah, 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 boom, they're gonna be the butt of the joke. One more thing, stop bringing up men's mental health in response to women making jokes about men's mental health. I don't give a fuck about these one-off videos of women making fun about it. I don't care. Men's mental well-being is not suffering because of women. It's not. So, like I always say, stop being homophobic. Call up your guy friends and go get a cinnamon roll with them.
Ooh, a cinnamon roll? Yum, 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 yum. Okay, now I want to show you this, okay, right? So now, with that in mind, this just happened. Barstool Stools, boo, posted this 20 hours ago. It says, Wembley is never going to want to visit New York after this series. And this is I guess the Knicks lost. I'm not in the sports bubble. But basically, this NBA player gets an egg thrown on his head. These are his, quote, these are like, I guess, fans and non-fans who are mad at him. Look at that, it hit him right in the head. Oh, the Knicks won? Okay, the Knicks won. Oh, Spurs lost. Okay, you sports people can tell me. I thought the Knicks lost. I don't know anything about sports. I just saw it on my TikTok. So Knicks won, Spurs lost. Okay, well, there you go. Like, why would you throw an egg at somebody? Like, you had to take an egg with you? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, why? Who did this? Like, what grown man threw an egg at another grown man? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, what is the point of this? Oh, they lost game 3 and won game 4. Okay, noted. Because I swear I saw the, whatever, thank you. Okay, they lost and then they won. Got it. What is this? Okay? Like, why would you do this? And then even if they're teenagers, who raised them? Like, what are we doing here? Okay. Now look at this. Trigger warning, because I saw this yesterday and I swear to God, if this happens, I'm going to kill myself. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. Okay. It's not a threat. It's a warning. Be careful with me. Okay. Don't piss me off. Hunter Biden and Gavin Newsom talking about running in 2028 together.
I'm joined today by presidential candidate Hunter Biden, 2028. Come on, Hunter. What's going on?
No.
You got more buzz out there than you got the President of the United States, Donald Trump, talking about your candidacy for President of the United States.
I had to give you a break for just one day at least. Here's the deal. I'll run, but only as your VP, because the truth of the matter is the vice president's residence is a lot cooler. It's a lot easier job too.
I'm joined.
I know it's a joke. I get it. It's a joke. But I swear to God, if they do this, if the Democrats do, I will, on principle. Okay? Like, when I saw Hunter Biden on Candace Owens and they were just like, oh, and they were just like, oh my God, I love you. Oh my God, okay, right in our faces, playing right in our faces. And Discord said, I guess we're all going to die 2028. Bro, I swear Candace Owens is going to do it. I swear Candace is going to run one day. I'm telling you right now. Oh, like, this pissed me off. It literally boiled my blood. I was so mad. Okay? How about instead of you guys, all these men fucking around with our lives, they fucking do something. Listen to the story that just came out 2 days ago. A family's desperate choice, the massive debt to save their daughter. This is the great USA.
Candy Levasseur is a nurse. Her husband, Larry, a retired state trooper. They say they had to make a choice, go into massive debt, or their 24-year-old daughter, Rachel, would die.
I've seen a lot in almost 40 years of emergency work. And to see your own daughter in front of you in such a bad position is brutal, absolutely brutal.
This is Rachel's room.
Candy showed us her daughter's bedroom. Rachel has autism and a complex form of obsessive-compulsive disorder that convinces her she's contaminated, could infect others, and needs to die.
Look at this one. It's okay if all you did today was survive.
Yes.
Rachel has attempted suicide numerous times, her entire family fighting to save her, including Sister Ellie.
I just miss my sister.
For years, the family says their insurance covered in-network therapists, psychiatrists, and 3 residential facilities.
Hi, Rachel. This is Kate.
Over the phone, Rachel told us why she left the 3rd facility.
The therapist there had basically just given up on me, and she had told me that I wasn't getting better there, and they couldn't do anything else to help me.
I mean, we were just lost.
Do you start to feel desperate?
We are desperate.
We
yes.
are.
Then they discovered a program within Shepherd Pratt Hospital right in their home state of Maryland. Like many mental health providers, the program doesn't participate with any health insurance, even though the broader hospital does.
We have a co-insurance.
The Levasseurs say when they called their insurance company, several representatives gave them hope the stay might be covered.
They said, well, if you all can prove that Rachel is getting care that she can't get anywhere else, then we would tend to cover that.
To get her in, we took out a second mortgage on our house.
On your house?
Yes.
That paid for Rachel's initial $60,000 20-day stay.
This was what we were searching for.
That's Rachel?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The specialized care, her parents say, finally started turning Rachel's life around. They kept her there for a little over a year. Now they owe about $1.3 million.
Did you keep her in the program despite the huge bills because you thought it was saving her life?
Oh,
Absolutely.
definitely.
Absolutely.
It did save her life, yes.
I mean,
yes, no doubt about it.
How do you put a price on your daughter's life?
This is insurance records.
Their insurance agreed to reimburse a small portion of the facility's cost, but despite several appeals, not nearly as much as they'd hoped. Now the hospital is asking for payment.
This is the Shepherd Pratt campus in Towson, Maryland. We reached out, and they said they don't comment on patient care, even though Rachel signed an authorization form allowing Shepherd Pratt to talk about her health information with NBC News.
Rachel remains hospitalized, the family desperate for her treatment to continue, treatment they know they can't afford, but believe Rachel can't live without.
What's your perspective on the way our mental health care system is designed?
It's a mess. And it has been one of the most frustrating and disheartening things that we've ever dealt with.
And with that, Kate Snow joins us now live in studio. Kate, you feel for those parents now more than $1 million in debt. What happens next to them?
Yeah, Tom, in an email, a top executive at Shepherd Pratt, the hospital, told the family they would be willing to enter into a one-time deal with their insurance company to cover that specialized treatment. But the family hasn't heard any updates on that in several weeks, Tom.
How insane is this? You know what I'm saying? This should not fall on families. You know, here we have the administration saying, have more babies, but you're not considering that those babies might need care. And who's going to pay for that care? And this is what I'm saying. She deserves that care. We should give her that care. I mean, instead of funding all these wars and killing children in other countries, maybe we could, I don't know, put it towards mental health, you know, healing cancer, healing herpes, I don't know, curing all these fucking things that are bothering everybody. You know what I'm saying? Like, there are so many resources and so much effort gets pulled in such, like, just the wrong direction. You know what I'm saying? And this is just a heartbreaking story. Like, what a heartbreaking story. $1 million. I find that story just incredibly frustrating. And it goes back to what we talked about yesterday, right? We talked about this yesterday with having children, regardless of how, quote, in quotations, healthy you think your child's going to be, you don't know what we're going to face. And this is what I'm saying. Like, when we talked about how much money I make and people talking about like how much money we make, this is why I say, like, I don't know which kids are going to need this type of care. Do you know what I'm saying? When you have a big family like mine, you have to wonder if one of those kids is going to need this type of care. You know what I mean? And that's what I'm worried about every day. That's the stress that keeps me up, is like, what if we're going to owe somebody $1 million fucking dollars? And so when I sit there and see people, you know, saying, oh, well, I don't have children, so I can spend all this money. Do you have nobody in your family, nobody in your household, like nobody? And again, I don't have children, but I have to think about these kids. Because what am I going to do? Tell my brother, oh, well, you decided to have them, I guess that's your burden. No, that's our burden now. That's a family burden now. Because if those kids need representation, who's going to protest on their behalf? Do you know what I'm saying? So for all these people that live a life where they're like, oh yeah, we didn't have kids, so we have excess money. And then they want to talk about how individualism is killing America. I'm talking to you, Chelsea Fagan. You know what I mean? Like, here's Chelsea making all this content about how individualism is killing the community, but all she talks about is how much money she has in excess because she has no kids. Even though she talks about her friends having kids and is there nobody in your life you're going to pay? You know what I mean? I'm not saying it's her responsibility. I'm saying when you send out that message, you are sending out an individualistic message. The individualistic message is like, oh, this is your healthcare problem. This isn't mine. And I'm saying it should be all of our problems, to recognize that if all of us pulled into a system that supported each other, this girl could get support. Her family could get support. They deserve support. This is the community effort I want to see us make. So we have to be careful about the way we talk about, oh, I decided not to have kids, so I don't have this burden. You do have this burden. You have this burden through the taxes we pay, through the way we rally for our communities, and the way we take care of people in our families. So so that person on my Bert Simon channel who was like, if you made $1 million, would you be immoral? Not if that $1 million went to something like this. That's what people aren't getting. The streamers I am criticizing have millions of dollars. This bill from the hospital, though they would protest because it would be outrageous, they could actually pay it in cash. That's the difference. That's the difference between me and them. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying when I'm critical of these people in positions of power who have all of this money, they could pay this hospital bill in cash. I'm saying I couldn't do that. I couldn't pay a hospital bill if it was $10K. I don't have $10K cash. You know what I'm saying? I don't have $20K cash. And then you're telling me I have to save up for a house, $150K, just for a down payment if I want $1 million home, which I don't. So then I say, okay, I'll take a $300,000 home. Okay, you still need what? 20% just to save money on insurance? You know what I'm saying? Like, this is what I'm trying to say. We need to rally against the system by also having our life reflect that protest of the system. Our life, in my mind, at least for me, I'm not telling you have to do shit, but if you're a public figure, I will criticize you because I can. I can use your choices as an example of why I would disagree. I'm not telling you have to do anything. Okay, we're all going to die. None of this matters. But listen to me. If I was thinking about the future and I was thinking about the collective good and I was thinking about how my life individually reflected what I would want for the overall, it's not that we want everyone to be rich, right? Hassan Piker in that recent interview insinuated he wants everybody, right? He's like, this isn't a poverty call. I want everybody to own a house. Instead of saying, I don't need everyone to be rich, I want all of our labor to be good enough. I don't want you to be rich. I don't want to be rich. I want my labor to be good enough. I want to say I work 60 hours a week. Is that not good enough? I want to say, why shouldn't that be good enough for me to have a basic life? Why shouldn't that be good enough for us to have a basic life? I don't think we all want to be rich. We just want the labor to make sense for what, you know what I'm saying? Like, why should people need 2 jobs? Why should people need 3 jobs? Why do I need 3 streams of income? You know what I'm saying? Now, it's not just streamers who need multiple streams of income. It's people with, quote, regular jobs. Look at this story. It just came out June 10th.
We're now on the economy and a troubling trend. Over a third of U.S. workers now hold multiple jobs just to keep going, according to a recent survey by ZipRecruiter. Tonight, our Meg Oliver shows us how many school teachers are working side hustles as we continue our series, Affordability in America.
On the ground was a little bag of gold.
From the time she was a child, Christine Riegel knew she wanted to be a teacher.
I just love working with kids. I love the kids. I mean, I've been teaching for 26 years and I still remain in contact with a lot.
But that devotion to her craft in Plainfield, New Jersey requires quite a few side hustles to pay the bills.
Well, here I do breakfast duty and lunch duty. I tutor after school and then I work at Cheesecake Factory.
1 in 5 K-12 teachers report struggling financially, with 71% of U.S. public school teachers working at least one additional job.
Where are you getting hit the hardest?
Oh, gosh, I'm getting hit everywhere. Like just this past weekend, it cost me $70 to put gas in my car. 70. Last night I went grocery shopping. 2 bags of groceries, $160. That's where I'm getting hit. Repeat after me. Swipe.
When school lets out for the summer, Riegel will continue waitressing for extra cash. She also has to budget for school supplies. She usually spends up to $1,500 of her own money to supplement her class.
Every single teacher I've ever known has had to do this. Every single teacher I've ever had to know, and I have like 6 or 7 teachers in my family, every single one of them has always had to do this. Their private time, their private... Thank you, Lizzo. Their private time, their private money, their private everything. That wasn't Lizzo rapping. That was a Lizzo video. Hold on. Did you see this video?
And they still...
By Tracy Morgan?
Making minimum wage. No. You know how much some teachers probably making right now? Man, not enough. And I can't stand teachers. You know why? Because they have a ceiling. They have a limit. That's all they ever gonna be. Man, I teach my kids, sky's the limit.
What that anti-intellectualism is.
What is that message? What is that message? You know what I mean? Don't become an educator or a teacher because that's all you'll ever be. Because they have a limit. There's a ceiling to it. What? And then we wonder why public schools and why our education system is going down the drain. Because instead of saying we should make the quality better, we should give reprieve to the teachers, we should make classroom sizes smaller. You know what I mean?
Classroom. Are you budgeting differently so you're able to afford that next year?
Luckily, I have a co-teacher where we split everything, but I know she's feeling a hit herself, and we've already...
And like all the people who still think teachers get paid for summer, no, they don't. Every teacher I know either goes on unemployment during the summer or they get a second job. All this, I know as millennials, we grew up thinking teachers get paid for the summer. They do not. They do not. Their salary does not make up for summertime.
Had conversations like we're going to have to probably take it easy, especially with her because she just has a new baby.
So now what does your retirement look like?
I'm going to just keep hustling and just keep putting money away and then pray that when I hit 60 that things will be a lot different.
For now, the single 54-year-old will have to keep hustling for at least 6 more years. Meg Oliver, CBS News, Plainfield, New Jersey.
It's a Barbie camper of sorts designed by the guy driving it there, 30-year-old Molly Hightower, a handyman not far from Atlanta. He says he started with a go-kart base and the engine from an old power washer, and what he got is maybe the ultimate answer to higher gas prices.
Gas is getting too high, so I got to do what I can. I can't do my regular cars. I got to do my little mini cars. So if I can get $1 on pump 6.
Yes, $1. That little mini car, as he calls it, costs all of $3 to fill up entirely, compared to about $60 for his real car, a minivan. And while he can't pick up the kids in the mini car, he did install a rack for groceries. And as long as he stays off the highway, he says the local cops have been understanding.
Okay, can I tell you this? I went through a era of my life where I was so stressed from like money, and I was trying to think about like how to live off. I was living off like $1,500 a month. Okay, that's how much I was making. And I was like, okay, if I have $1,500 a month, that's how much I make. What can I do with my life? And so I bought this trailer. You guys know the trailer story. And it was a great trailer. And I did a road trip with it. I was like, where can I park this trailer? And the truth is the trailer was like $250 a month for its payment. Okay. It was a $16,000 trailer. And I was like, I'll live in the trailer. I'll live on as little as possible. The dilemma when you start thinking about living on little as possible, it is survival mode. You are in survival mode. It takes a toll on your mental health. People think it sounds good. Like, oh, I brought down all my costs to like so little. Yes, but are you doing it because you're rich? Or are you doing it because you're poor? Because like minimalism is great when you're rich. It's not great when you're poor. You're not a minimalist. You're just poor, right? And that was the dilemma I had to learn the hard way. Like a lot of these cabin, Pinterest lifestyles, a lot of these live off the grid, a lot of these, it's a cope because you're surviving in capitalism. You think if I just bring down all my bills. So as an example, and I'll be completely transparent with you, my partner and I do recognize, and okay, so you know how Dave Ramsey, follow me. You know how Dave Ramsey, his whole thing, like if you have any debt, you can't see the inside of a restaurant. And a lot of modern day financial people say Dave Ramsey's crazy. This isn't good for our mental health. They're right. In order to do Dave Ramsey's financial plan, you have to be very special because not in a good way, bad way, just like very unique. Because even we don't do it because we see the toll it takes on our mental health. When I tell you, like, living within our means and not sliding the credit card has absolutely put us in like a very interesting position where we have to, as a couple, recognize that like, oh yeah, we're feeling a weird stress. There is a stress to getting out of debt that is like, this is why I never did it. Most of my life, the only time I was out of debt was when I was just making a lot of money and I put it towards my debt. And most of my life I was in debt. Because the mental toll of staying disciplined enough to stay out of debt is actually incredibly hard when you feel guilty having a $30 meal at a restaurant. So what we do is we only go out to eat if it fits into our regular food budget. And sometimes it does. Sometimes we save so much money throughout the week on our regular groceries that we have leftover money and we spend it at restaurants, that money. And that's how we do it. And it's still only like 22, whatever. Just says, do you use credits for points? Yeah, but all those are myths. Like points on your credit card, again, another myth that an average person can do this. Most people do not actually benefit from the credit they get on their points or the points they get on their credit cards. Now, most people do not use them, right? You have to spend so much money on that credit card just to get any points back. You have to be very skilled to do these things. Look, you can't say 70% of Americans are in debt and everybody's so good at using points. No, we all suck at using points. No, it's almost never worth it. Unless you can absolutely pay off that credit card every month, like it is absolutely there to exploit you. These credit card companies spend millions of dollars learning to exploit you and your psychology. You are not going to outsmart them unless you are very, very skilled. Okay? So again, the one thing that we've done as a couple is we've recognized the stress and we've acknowledged that like, okay, what are we going to do to alleviate this stress? So we're very close to being out of debt. Okay. We're very close. It's like, I can taste it. I'm going to be out of debt by the end of this year. And it's been very difficult because we could only put a few thousand towards our debt every year because like of how much I make, right? Which is fine. That's normal. But that means it takes years to get out of even a small $16,000 worth of debt. It takes years to get out of. If you have $16K in debt and you can only put down $3,000 to $5,000 or $5,000 a year to get out of the debt, right? And I've been out of debt before and then I got into debt because I was sick. Okay. And then I got out of debt and then I got back. It's always medical bills. That's always what ends up like fucking me up. But here I am. Okay. It's okay. We're almost out. And then when we're out, we're going to be out. Right. So, well, fingers crossed, unless an emergency happens and then we're back in. So that's the thing. It's like, we are hoping for a non-emergency long enough to save up for an emergency. That way, if an emergency happens, we have the savings. And then even if you save, they recommend you save 3 to 6 to 12 months of living expenses. Do you know how long that's going to take us? If 16K of debt took us 3 years to get out of, right? Now, how am I supposed to save up a year's worth of, you know what I'm saying? Right? And so, like, again, this is just to be very empathetic and acknowledge that a lot of us are in this position. This is why we have to rally for the system to change, because this is unlivable. You can't ask people to live like this. Now, of course, I also can't wait for the system to change. So we have to take control of our family finances and just live a very strict life until we're out. And we're almost out. And then once we're out, we'll give each other like a not guilty spending budget. Because right now we don't really have one. We have like $10 a month. But eventually I'd like to have a guilt-free spending budget of like maybe $100 a month, 100 for him, 100 for me, right? And then that's it. Like, that's a lot, but like that would be nice, you know, and that's guilt-free. That means eating out, buying new clothes, because we don't even buy clothes right now. Buying new clothes, maybe like maybe some set stuff, which yes, I could write off for work as long as I use it for work, but also I want to go out and buy clothes without it, like my normal clothes, you know, not work clothes, like normal clothes, right? Not like photo shoot clothes. What about that, right? So that's what I would like. And again, I want to acknowledge that though Dave Ramsey's system can work for some people, generally the reason it doesn't is because it's too hard, right? The pressure is just too intense. But that's why I have to advocate for the system to change while also doing what we can as a family to support ourselves. So this is why I say, like, that person who's like, but what if you made $1 million? Okay, but what if I made $1 million? You need $3 million in investments for retirement just to live off of that for 20 years. On average now. It used to be $1 million by retirement, and now they recommend 3 in savings, in investments. Do you know what I'm saying? Because if you put $1 million in the stock market, or you have a returns on $1 million invested, it's like $60K a year. You're gonna live off $60K a year for the rest. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think people are understanding how inflation is killing us. Like, this country is heading for a bad place. That's why I'm just show you this video. And I also want you to like have faith that like you will be okay, because God knows the world has been through this before. But like, it is pretty insane out here. So that's why we have to advocate for the system to change while working on our own personal relationship with stuff, right?
Oh, and yes, he says this is for real.
Gas has always been an issue. It go up, it goes down, things like that. But this time is when I'm actually starting to feel.
And look, he said it himself. He can't pick up his kids in this car, but as long as he gets through work. That's what I'm saying. Like, reality is I couldn't live in a trailer without a shower. Reality is I couldn't just live on a trailer and park it on land, because then I had to buy land, and then I didn't have electricity, and then I didn't have access to internet. And then what? How was I going to make money? Right? How was I going to make money parking on random land? Like, I'd have to live in someone's backyard, and then I'm living with family and they don't want you there because, like, as much as they love you, you impact the family. Like, having people in your home is impactful. It changes your whole dynamic. You can't just live with anybody, right? So like, here he is doing his best, but he can't pick up his kids in that car.
And there it is. Maybe not the Barbie Dreammobile, but at $3 a tank, pretty close to a dream.
We've told you how rising food prices are turning up the heat on restaurants. In Texas, beef is so expensive, now barbecue joints are losing money on brisket, a staple menu item. Pitmasters are trying to steer people away from brisket and find other choices to satisfy their hunger. Jason Allen got a taste of the problem.
Russell Regals pulled 3 huge beef briskets out of the post oak smoke, carried them to the counter to be sliced pencil thick, piled high on a bun, and delivered to another satisfied customer, all the while knowing that lunch order just ate him for lunch.
Are you making any money right now serving beef?
No.
None at all?
None at all, even though we charge $35 a pound.
Brisket is the star of the state's barbecue scene, but Regals' cost for the once cheap cut of beef has climbed from $3.60 a pound in 2020 to more than $6.50 today.
Well, maybe we should stop eating animals. Okay, chat, I'm going to say something, but please don't take offense to this. I'm just sharing what I know about finance. You said, am I the only person that is no debt? I've only achieved that by always being able to get another side job, money-making endeavor to pay off unexpected bills. It was never by saving. You can't save your way out of poverty. It is actually technically, in most of the finance shows I watch, it is typical of poor, struggling people or immigrant backgrounds to always say, I'll just get another job. I used to do that too. Oh, I'll just get another job. Until you're disabled and can't, or until the market doesn't have accessibility for you, or until you run out of hours in the day, or until the bill you get is 16 to 20 to 30K up front, and there is no side hustle that will pay that bill. So yes, it is actually typically a mindset of the poor immigrant and or struggling people that say, I'll just get another job. Because you should never have to get another job to pay a bill, even unexpected. Because technically we should all be saving, and we should have been saving forever because we should have had jobs that allowed us to. So I hear that, and I hear that because that was my whole life. The dilemma is it catches up with you eventually. Eventually, there are no more side hustles to get. And that's what the economy is heading towards, is there is no. And again, maybe you've never had like a $20,000 bill surprise. And I've had that. I literally have had a surprise $20,000 bill. And I was like, unexpected. I did not realize it. I was like, oh, and I've had an unexpected $16,000 bill, and I've had an unexpected, and I'm like, fuck. And so like, mentally, I'm like, I got this. And I do. I always find a way out. I do. Every single time I find a way out. But it certainly isn't easy. And I can see why people crumble under the stress. It is very fucking stressful. Do you know what I'm saying? So again, like, I hear you. I'm with you. I get it. And, right?
Some people would say, well, just raise your prices.
Well, the American people can't afford it always. If I raised brisket to where I needed it to be right now.
You said you misread the intent of my comment. I don't think I misread the intent. It made me think of all the finance shows I watch where, oh, you said I am the only one who has no debt. I've only achieved that. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to misread your intent of your comment. It made me think of how I always hear that from people. Right. But you said it's not a question. Am I the only one? You said I am the only person I know that has no debt. I've only achieved that by always being able to get a side job. That's amazing. Right. I did misread your comment. I didn't mean to imply your intentions. It just made me think of that thing I always hear about. You know what I'm saying? So I'm saying my focus was that you shouldn't have to get another job. Right. But I hear you, and I'm sorry that I made it a question rather than I misunderstood the context.
Now it would be $42 a pound.
Ultimately, Texas barbecue is about brisket.
Michael Fulmer is the co-founder of the Houston Barbecue Festival. The cost of beef, he says, is already starting to change the state's barbecue tradition.
You're a family of four, you love barbecue, and you want to take your family out. That becomes a special occasion as opposed to a regular dining experience, and that's an important shift.
Like, just for context, my dad made $100,000 a year, and he had 10 kids. Okay, obviously he couldn't afford to put anybody through college, and he couldn't afford any of that stuff. They've helped a couple of people over the years. They've given us money over the years, but generally, like, my dad's, okay, every Sunday after church, when he had 8 kids living at home, my dad basically took us out for a lunch or a dinner, usually sushi or an Asian restaurant, because my dad loves Asian food, and he always says, if I can't make it better at home, I might as well get it at a restaurant. So we used to go to sushi like every day usually it was either after church or somewhere on the weekend. And that was a big deal. Like, you can imagine that bill, right? But my dad loves eating out, and he loves eating at good restaurants, and we as a family. So as a family, we love sushi generally. And now that vegan sushi is on the menu everywhere, I can have sushi still with family and friends, which is fun. But just think about that investment. That was like a choice my dad made, my mom made. That was like our event as a family. It was a very big deal. Everyone get in the car, we're going out. But think about how privileged that is too. But it was an event too, all the same. It wasn't like we didn't eat out during the week because we couldn't afford to. Like, people who eat out every day, like, you are rich. If you can eat out every day, you are rich. Because in my mind, I've never had that life. My family could never afford to eat out every day. I can't afford to eat out every day now. There's just no way. We don't have the money. So in my mind, if you eat out every day, you're rich. Which is so interesting, because I know for a fact you're probably not rich. But it feels like a rich people thing to do, because I'm like, how do you afford that?
Like Regal now regularly mix brisket trim into other dishes, sell the rendered fat, and encourage people to order something else.
Try the turkey. Turkey's probably one of the most underrated things on a barbecue menu. It's great. I eat pork ribs every single day. I mean, who doesn't like pork ribs? But this is Texas, and they want brisket.
For now, he is holding the line on prices, ordering only what he needs, waiting to see what barbecue becomes when the smoke clears.
Okay, hold on. Chat Discord said the real is that you are never out mentally. Me and my husband lived as frugally as possible for years, /Dave Ramsey style. We were privileged to start with no debt at 18. Now that we are homeowners and have an emergency fund, we should feel like we aren't in survival mode anymore. But the anxiety of living like that, even when it's by choice, it's complicated, really stays with you. Buying a house at 23 was still a choice. I regret it low key. You know what's so funny you said that? I was just watching Ramith talk to this couple who have like multiple homes, multiple streams of income. They're worth like millions of dollars, and they have that anxiety. That's why I say, talk about mental health. that is I think a uniquely like US thing as well, where like you can be a net worth millionaire and still feel like very scared of losing everything, because you hear those stories every day in America. Every day in America, people lose everything because one thing goes wrong. And so that's 100% what I'm trying to unlearn right now. We are, as a couple, trying to unlearn. Well, I think it's mostly me, honestly, than my partner, because I just think it's so US specific. But I am trying to unlearn the anxiety that we're not going to have money. I'm really like, I'm always like, uh-oh. And like, to be fair, we don't have our 3 months of emergency fund. We don't have retirement. So there's also that type of thing. So we're trying to make sure we don't fall into that trap, because once we hit those goals, like, you know, Ramith was telling this woman from Iraq, he was interviewing this couple. He said, she said she's always terrified that something's going to go wrong. And he said that's very typical for immigrant households, especially. And I have that. He goes, you really struggle to rest. My partner thinks it's really interesting that I cannot take a vacation. I cannot rest. That's true. When I'm doing my best, like if I hit a new high on YouTube or I get a really good paycheck, I feel more stressed. I literally feel more anxiety. And so I talk about like, you got to meditate through this shit. It is so ingrained in our bodies. It is so like, it is literally financial trauma from living in the United States. Especially since, you know, so again, like all that's helped us is being very diligent, being very slow, taking deep breaths, like meditating on it and just making sure that like you do your best to just, okay, you know, I do think there's a way, again, I think without meditation and without taking deep breaths and without philosophy, I would just be so much more stressed. Like I am stressed, but I feel like it's normal adult stress. And also what keeps us from going overboard, like going back to survival mode, is remembering that like we're animals on a planet. This is normal. You labor to survive. I know a lot of people, I think what happens is that like there is a normal amount of laboring and suffering that should be required for existing because we're animals on a planet. Okay, you get sick, you break a bone, you get in a car accident. I think the issue is right now, on top of the normal level of stress, the government just takes a big break and goes, here, take this too. And you're like, why do I have to carry this too? And that's what's killing all of us. We need to be relieved of this extra brick. And if that was the case, then we'd all be dealing with a normal level of human stress that is required for existing, period. You know? Yeah, Chet says American dream, more like American trauma. So much trauma. I can't even explain.
What works and what you can get your customers to buy, and hope to God you sell it.
For CBS Mornings, I'm Jason Allen in Houston.
In the hills of Tunkhannock, Pennsylvania, a familiar red roof catches the eye. Inside, the vinyl booths, Tiffany-style lamps, and yes, the salad bar you may remember from decades ago.
I mean, it's amazing the comments we have about, they have the red cups. Yes, we do.
Tim Sparks got his start working at a Pizza Hut that looked like this. He's now president of Dayland Corporation, which owns this franchise and more than 80 others around the country. They've redecorated many restaurants to rewind the clock.
It looks exactly like the one that I remember from when I was a kid.
Yeah, that's what we were after.
Some Pizza Hut classics are now top-performing locations. Customers show up for a piece of their childhood.
It just brings back memories.
To share with their own kids.
When you finally find something that tastes how you genuinely remember it tasting, like, you can't let it go.
People come from 2 and 3 hours away, and I'm not making that up.
More restaurants are serving up nostalgia. Franchises like Burger King and KFC returned to old-school logos and packaging in recent years. At Pizza Hut, they even brought back Pac-Man. But for Sparks, this is much more than a game. It's a mission to rebuild places where families can connect.
If we could get them in here as a family, they do tend to put their phones down and actually have conversations and speak with each other. I'm not going to tell you I know how to fix the world, but I do think that family is a good
Ooh, this was posted on my birthday, May 14th, 2026.
Place to start.
He hopes to renovate more of his restaurants as long as he can find enough of those lamps.
That's so funny.
They're hard to get?
Yeah, they're almost impossible to get.
A familiar taste.
Well, cheers.
Bringing people together.
Just like I remember it.
Again, Bradley Blackburn, CBS News, Tunkhannock, Pennsylvania.
Yeah, I think like that's interesting that he's weaponizing nostalgia. He's exploiting your nostalgia to get you back in the store. That's interesting. But I kind of get it. You know, I do kind of get it. It kind of works. It makes you feel like maybe I'm going back to a time that was accessible. Because like I remember being in my early 20s. I just moved out of my mom and dad's house. I was 21 and I was struggling with money 100%. I was struggling to keep it up. I was struggling with my mental health. And I also remember being able to work multiple jobs and still party with my friends on the weekends and go out to eat. And like, we really didn't have any money. Like, I'm not going to try to pretend that we did. We didn't have money, but we were all working full time. And somehow it still felt like we were living. Maybe because we were all young adults, like living away from our parents and partying and stuff. But it felt like we had hope. And now that we're 37 and basically in very similar spots, though, of course, I'm making more money than I've ever made. It still feels like, uh-oh. And that's the part of it that's hard. You know, that's why I said it felt tone deaf for Chelsea Fagan to talk about buying a new $1 million house for fun. Because I'm like, girly, read the room. Like, and that's why I'm surprised that people are still seeing this as aspirational in this economy, in a place where people are asking and begging foreigners not to come in to buy property if they don't live there and aren't a part of the culture. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I just can't believe that, like, this feels more realistic. You know what I mean? Like, people are struggling, going out with your family. And so it just felt like really strange to me that for a finance channel, they're not focusing on this. I feel like, and we're going to talk about Chelsea at the end of today's story with Ariana Grande, because I just did not, Chelsea's a public figure. I'm not trying to come for Chelsea every time I make these videos, but I'm trying to, like, I'm surprised that the only, quote, leftist female channel is just so fucking tone deaf. Like, what the fuck is this? And then she's using feminism to, like, make her point. I'm like, is this feminine? I mean, I guess it's, I don't know. But where is the care for, like, these families? Where is the finance channel that doesn't just interview capitalistic divorcees who are, like, selling their books? But, like, where's the stories about, like, people making it in the economy? Like, why do I have to watch Dave Ramsey to hear from real people's stories? Why do I have to watch Ramith? Like, why isn't, you know what I'm saying?
As consumer prices remain high, a growing number of Americans say they're cutting back on everyday items in favor of spending their money on services and experiences. According to the Bureau of Economic Analysis, consumer spending is falling most on goods that have seen sharp price increases. So take a look at your screen. Between December of last year and the end of February, spending on clothing fell about 5%. Spending on furniture fell 7%, and spending on sports equipment fell 6%. As Wall Street Journal economics reporter Rachel Wolf writes in her recent piece, the trend shows that recent inflation is not being driven by consumer demand, but by companies passing on increased costs to their customers. Rachel Wolf joins us now. So thanks for being here. You note that people are still spending on travel, financial services, healthcare. Why is that?
People are responding to inflation. It just doesn't look quite like what you see on the surface. So on the surface, it kind of seems like consumers are doing fine. But when you peel back and look at specific categories, specifically the durable goods that fill our closets and our garages, it's clear that consumers really are mad about inflation, and they are responding in kind by buying less.
Are we seeing this type of cutting back even among people who aren't necessarily struggling financially?
Exactly. We're seeing this happen among consumers all over the income spectrum. People are making trade-offs. That's why consumer spending is still relatively strong, but people are saying that they're changing their behavior. They are. Both can be true at once. And it's true for me. My partner and I just bought a house. So we're spending a lot on house stuff, but we're not spending on going out to eat. We're not traveling. We're trying to walk and bike rather than drive. And my experience is replicated all over the economy.
What else surprised you about your reporting?
That the economy is nuanced, as is always the case, but I think it's really easy. We got a pretty strong retail sales number for March, and my editor asked me, does that mean that our story isn't true anymore? And I said, no, our story is now even more true, because when you look deeper at the retail sales, you see things like the fact that restaurant spending was in fact pretty weak. That's an example of a place where prices are up and consumers are cutting back.
Well, congrats on the new house, Rachel Wolf. Thank you.
Thanks so much.
So as Weija just mentioned, inflation is at its highest level in 3 years. It's a direct consequence of the war with Iran. Fuel prices have been surging, and it's having a significant impact on American consumers and businesses. Jason Allen reports on the ways businesses are improvising.
For veteran restaurant owner Mark McGuire in Dallas, Texas.
2 cheeseburgers.
Business has never been quite like this.
Since the beginning of March is probably the craziest time I've seen in my entire career in the restaurant industry.
The craziest in your entire career?
Craziest. Outside of maybe the first 2 months of COVID.
He showed us his invoices, which now all include a fuel surcharge. He says vendors are constantly changing prices, and regular menu items are sometimes unavailable.
Well, I don't know tomorrow what I'm going to pay for my salmon. I don't know if I'm going to get my wine. It's crazy.
And customers are ordering less.
People come in here, they order an entree, they may or may not order an adult beverage and or a soda, and that's it. They don't. My dessert sales used to be about 7%. Now they're less than 1%.
Consumers across the country are now weighing where to spend their money. There's reason for concern, with inflation rising to a 3-year high. The latest data shows double-digit jumps in the price of gas and airfare compared to last year. Everyday staples like fresh vegetables, roasted coffee, and steaks also saw sharp increases. Back in Dallas, McGuire's thinking about when he will have to raise menu prices.
If you're already seeing people pull back, I would think the last thing you want to do now is try to increase prices even more.
It's pretty scary. It's a pretty scary place to be, for sure.
And McGuire's not alone in feeling the strain here. The Texas Restaurant Association recently surveyed its members. 77% of them reported that they're seeing a higher cost of goods from their vendors, and 66% of them are now seeing those fuel surcharges on their invoices. Nate?
Jesus. So I just wanted to bring focus to that because I think there's such a specific stress happening right now, and it's real. Like, it's a real stress. So, you know, one, we want to philosophically be in living mode. And two, that living mode must follow the survival, like the strain you feel from the economy. So like I said, I am not in survival mode because I think survival mode is honestly philosophical. I really believe this. When I was in survival mode earlier in my life, it was more my mental health survival, because if I was in living mode at any point in my life, I would have been better with money, right? I am still good with money now. Me talking about the struggle of staying within my means is still a struggle. But if I was mentally healthy and philosophically healthy in my 20s while I was going through it, I would have had a house by now. 100%. If I was me today when I was younger, I would have had a house. And I would have had maybe so many other things. But because I started becoming mentally healthy and philosophically healthy later in life, my money is taking time, but it's working. It's slow, but steady. Like, keep in mind, guys, like, I'm 37. Okay. Oh my God, I'm so old. If I started this journey 20 years ago, if I had been saving starting 20 years ago, when I was working 20 years ago, if I had been saving, I would have absolutely been able to afford a house. But I didn't, because real life doesn't work that way. For a lot of us, we're struggling in high school. We're suicidal. We need help. We need therapy. We're spending our 20s partying and trying to figure out who we are as people. So we're not doing those things. It took me until my 30s to really understand my relationship with money, which is why I say being a whole human being is one of the key points, is also laboring, right? It is. The truth is, most of us are surviving for so long. I mean, I was in survival mode till I was 30, literally 30. And so, like, you know, I didn't even start really until a few years ago. And I see the difference. I am doing incredibly well. We are living within our means. We do not swipe the credit card. It is working. It is working. It just, you know what I'm saying? So again, math is math. Numbers are numbers. Okay. You can't spend more than you make, period. Okay. So you have to live within your means. And living within your means is incredibly difficult if you are philosophically not knowing why you're doing it. The only thing that keeps us stable is knowing why we're doing anything we do. Okay? And the United States, yes, exactly, Chet says, not to mention there's a serious lack of financial literacy education. I was taught exactly nothing by my school or family about money. Literally, so absolutely the truth. Like, this is why I'm hoping that if you're 21 listening to me right now, you take any wisdom I can give you. But I promise you, if I knew what I knew today, 20 years ago, oh my God. Holy shit, the whole world would have been different, but I didn't. And that's okay. I'm still going to be okay, right? But I just want you to know there is hope. There is something you can do. Just keep telling yourself, math is math, numbers are numbers. What can I do to live within my means? And yes, if you cannot save your way out of poverty, you do have to make more money. Yeah? But yeah, you're not getting educated. The U.S. isn't educating you. And then the U.S., so not only does it not educate us, it doesn't give us any safety nets. That's why the U.S. is so difficult to survive in. Because other countries, even if they don't give you the financial education, there's safety nets, universal health care, housing, some sort of help. Do you know what I'm saying? So you are dealing with a very different struggle, ironically living in one of the most privileged countries in the world. That's the irony of it too. That's why the rest of the world looks at America like, are you guys okay? And I'm like, no. Or the US, like, hey, are you okay? It's like, no, like, we're not okay. Yes, Chet says you really do have to go out and hunt the info down. You really do. You really, really do. Oh my gosh. Even, yeah, student loans. Like, I will tell you this, as I contemplate going back to school as an older person, I refuse to take out school. I can't afford school loans. I can't. We have to either save up the money and pay cash, or I have to get scholarships. I just cannot justify the school loans unless it would have to be maybe a loan from family or a loan from a credit union. But I just don't understand how I'm supposed to justify this loan. I can't believe they're making us pay for school. That's the fucked up part. How in the world are you making us pay for school? What do you mean? There was a woman I watched online. She had a school loan that she was paying $15K a year towards and had more owed than when she started because the interest rate was 30%. What is this? It's just, that's so fucked up. That's so fucked up that they're making us even pay for school in the first place. How fucked up is this? It's just insane. It's so fucked up. Okay, let's switch gears to 4 TikToks I want to show you, and then we'll watch this video that I want to show you. So first, updates from Belfast. The Catholics and the Protestant are coming together because nothing brings racist or white men together like racism. This is a racist man you're about to watch.
Irish culture. For anyone who knows Irish culture, they know that the Catholics and the Protestants have been fighting for 200 years, and they've never managed to integrate and live alongside each other. The widespread video of 2 nights ago has called for unity, where the Catholic elders and the Protestant elders have come together to call a 48-hour truce. This is the first time in history that they've called a truce. At 12 o'clock yesterday, both parties came together to unite against what happened in Belfast. This is quite literally history in the making. The island of Ireland will not back down on this fight. And there's reports of a 7-day riot where they target primarily migrant hotels. The weak leadership of the UK government has allowed this all to happen and unfold in our eyes, and the world is watching. So make sure you follow this page for updates over the next couple of days.
They're going to attack migrant hotels. How fucking scary is it right now if you're a migrant in Ireland? Northern Ireland? Wait, guys, I was educated in my chat, said Northern Ireland, which is different than Ireland itself, because Ireland infamously has been supporting Palestine. But correct me if I'm wrong, girlies, that Northern Ireland, I think my chat said they sided with the UK after Brexit. Am I correct on that? So technically, it is actually different, and that's why they're specifically racist. Am I correct? Do we have some Irish people in the chat that can correct me? That Northern Ireland, yeah, is with the UK. So when you guys hear Ireland in support of Palestine, they're different. Okay? Also, guys, before I forget, because I just had a reminder, you know that Jesse guy we watched yesterday, Jesse Ridgway? And I literally said, oh, he's a small creator because the channel I clicked on was 80,000 subscribers. The man has 4 million subscribers. And apparently he does a lot of pranks and he's very controversial. And people think he's pranking about the abortion. I don't even know what to do with that. I don't even know what to do with that information. I'm literally this better not be a prank. This abortion thing better not be a prank. You want to talk about philosophical evil? This is such a serious topic, and you are out here prank. If this is a prank, okay, so this is it, Jesse Ridgway. Okay, 82,000 subscribers. This is his family. I swear to God, if this is a prank, that would be crazy. That would be absolutely deplorable, just disgusting. So this better not be a prank, sir. Okay, gross. All right, next video of white men being racist.
Holy shit, man. Oh! Ain't good for the English! Ain't good for the English! Ain't good for the English! Shit. Oh my god! You fuck our foreigners! Get off!
Insane.
Holy shit.
Okay, and then this video here, which I thought was interesting.
I haven't left my house because I am scared to do so.
That's the lead actress of the Mean Girls musical, which was supposed to be playing here in Belfast this week. The producers have cancelled the entire run of the show due to violent disorder and attacks on homes of people of colour. Vivian Panka was set to be the first ever black Regina George.
Very scared to be here right now, especially as a person of colour, but just I'm worried for everyone in our company.
Initially, Tuesday's show at the Grand Opera House was cancelled, then the producers cancelled last night. Now they've announced the rest of the show won't go ahead due to unrest. Vivian had said playing the iconic Regina George was going to be monumental. Faye Tozer from the band Steps was also supposed to be performing in the show.
I haven't...
Okay, wait, there was actually one more video I forgot to pull up here that I did have saved. Where is it? Where is it? No! Oh, I think it's this one.
Behind this window in Belfast are two Ugandan women, Sumaya and Stella. Last night, the two friends watched as cars burn and the mob get closer.
How
That is when they started burning the houses now. They put the next neighbor's houses on fire, and then the smoke was actually coming direct to our house.
Some rioters were going door to door, throwing petrol bombs, targeting migrants who looked like them. Sumaya and Stella hid upstairs for 4 hours.
The people were very many, the rioters were very many, so it wouldn't make any sense for us to open the door. So we stayed inside, but the smoke was too much, kinda. I wasn't feeling actually fine, but my friend here stayed by my side, and the ambulance people kept her updated, like, try to do this for her, do this, do this.
Actually, she passed out. She passed out for like 30 minutes, and I got really so scared and traumatized because I was scared about the rioting and the people entering to our house. And here is my friend who was passed out, so I did not know what to do.
Stella, a Christian, and Sumaya, a Muslim, volunteer at a local church. In desperation, they called the police, their friends, their church. And by 10 p.m., it was Pastor Jack McKee who came to their house to try and save them. He had to negotiate with the rioters just to give him 10 minutes so he can get both women out of harm's way.
Gross. Wow.
They agreed only after he told them they were carers.
We literally had to go under hoses that were putting another fire out. So when I got into that home, there were two women, and they were totally traumatized. One of them was lying on the floor in an absolute traumatized state. The ambulance people had been working with her. They couldn't take her to the hospital because of what was going on in the streets, and also because the hospital situation was just busy.
Were they targeted because of their background, because of their skin colour last night?
I would say they were targeted, yes, because people knew that living in that home there were people who were black, and that was enough. I don't believe that people purposely went out last night to do what they did, but when you call people onto the street to protest, some people are going to protest peacefully and some are not.
Today in Belfast, supermarkets, barbers and mosques closed early, fearing they could be targeted next. Many will reopen soon, but the fear may last.
Okay, wait, one more video. Hold on. Let me show you though. Okay, so, wait, is this the one? Wait, I think this is the video. Let's see. Belfast residents deliver food to people scared to leave their homes after anti-immigrant violence. When you're mad for the world, you feed them. When you're mad at the world, you burn it down. So these men are mad at the world, so they're going to burn down their own town. The women are mad for the world. They're going to feed their community.
And we posted a video saying that if anybody needs food, I can cook, Orla can deliver, reach out to us. And that video like blew up, and a lot of people started messaging saying, can we get food? Can we get food? And then I put another video asking if we can get some volunteers to help with the delivering bit. And like all of this, like 10 a.m. we posted the video. By 6 p.m. we had like 30 plus volunteers on a WhatsApp group, people I've never met, mostly like 95% women, all delivering stuff. And yesterday we delivered easily over like 50-60 boxes. Today I think we've done about 15 so far, 15-ish. I think I'm personally scared to step out of my house. I don't want to be out. I don't want to, because especially like there was like a hit list being passed around with like addresses and all of that. So and a lot of those hit list roads are very close to me. People are scared to step out of their home, and food is like a basic need. And especially like a nutritious home cooked food is so important, especially during this time. So that's why I thought, okay, let me like cook and help feed people.
Love her. I don't believe in God, but if she exists, she better protect this woman at all costs. Chet says that's exactly what I said. I said it's about to be women making sure people get fed while men start fires. Literally. Chet says, thank you for showing that, Britt. I needed it. I was giving up on humanity. Don't give up on humanity, girls. We're here, okay? But I tell you this right now, if men do not come together to hold each other accountable, stop killing people, stop setting shit on fire, learn to feed people instead, because oh my God, you are terrifying us. You are not helping anybody. And then you wonder why women sit there and go, you know what? No men invited. Because hello, you're scaring everybody. It's scary. You're not helping. It would be much more interesting if you could learn to feed people rather than burn shit to the ground. Absolutely insane. Just so stupid. Okay, ready? I will tell you this right now. This TikTok did make me cry. So just emotionally get ready in case it hits you.
Just the other day, I got pulled over by the police with my sons in the car, and it was no big deal. They let me go with a warning, so everything was cool. But afterwards, I asked my sons, I was like, were y'all scared? And they're like, nah, man, we weren't scared. We ain't scared of nothing, you know? And as soon as I got home, I started cooking dinner. And my younger son, he wouldn't leave me alone. Like, he just kept talking to me. He kept asking me questions, which is just out of the ordinary for him. And so at some point, I asked him, I was like, hey, man, you good? Like, what, why you won't go away? And he was just like, I'm just making sure you're still here. I'm still here, bro. Just the other day, I got pulled over.
You are terrorizing children. These police officers, you are terrorizing children. You know what I mean? You're pulling over people without any consideration of the fear a child might have over the fact that their father might be killed. You know what I'm saying? Like that. Imagine having a fear so strong that you have to make sure your parent is still alive. Like that is, you are terrorizing children. Oh, so fucking annoying, bro. That's so gross that children have to live with any of that fear, any of that anxiety. For what? For what are you doing this? All right, let's take a break. When we get back, let's talk about people commenting on women's bodies. I'm gonna go make me coffee. I'll be right back. Give me 5 minutes. Fuck, bro. Oops. Da 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 da. Hello. Oh, I got a bit of something in my eye. Okay. Well, I'm so sorry to do this to you, but I'm gonna do it to you. Da, 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 da. Okay. Okay. Sorry, I ate a chocolate and I'm like, I feel like it's my teeth again. Shout out to my mother-in-law for making me vegan chocolate. Chocolate coconut bites. Okay. Pausing music in 1, 2, 3. All right. Okay. How do I even begin to do this?
I think the most...
Okay. Let's set this up. So, Okay. Yes, shout out to all the vegan chocolate creators. Amen. Actually, hold on. Before we begin, let's take a little breather. Let's take a little breather. Hold on, girls. I got you. Let's take a little. Let's transition together. Let's transition. Okay. Yep. Picking up what you're putting down. I'm sold. I'm sold. Nom. Okay, I'm sold. I'm sold. This is Dr. Vegan. Okay. It's their YouTube or their TikTok channel. Okay. Nice transition, guys. Nice transition. Shout out to vegan food. Okay. Shout out to eating ethically. Okay. Now, So we do philosophy through pop culture here, right? Okay, in case you guys are new for whatever reason, I see we've got quite a few people in chat today. This is also a live stream, so these aren't like heavily edited videos. These are segments from a stream that you will later see on YouTube. So I've pressed record. You'll see this later. I think some people don't understand that if it's a stream, it means you're seeing a segment of a stream. It means that you're watching somebody live create content. So I am going to right now show you snippets of Chelsea Fagan on TikTok to give you a foundation for the argumentation I'm about to make, the claim I'm about to make, that Chelsea's latest video on Ariana Grande is inappropriate and anti-leftist feminism. It might be second wave feminist. It might be 50 plus feminist, but it is not appropriate. And it's I think she's getting too much social credit for being the older sister who says what everybody is thinking, because we're not thinking those things. I'm not thinking the things that Chelsea is thinking about Ariana Grande's recent photographs that have gone viral, and people all having think pieces on Ariana's body, because it does feel a little bit like we are not learning from past experiences about commenting on people's bodies. But I have an argument to make that I think Chelsea and many of us who are millennials, we have a conservative background that we have to unlearn. And I think Chelsea's still unlearning hers. And I know that I think it plays a role in how Chelsea shows up. So when we watch the Ariana Grande video, I want us to play a game of how many conservative dog whistles Chelsea uses throughout the video. And before we get to that, just look at a few of these TikToks. We don't even have to watch the whole thing to get the point. Just listen to the few of these random TikToks that I found about Chelsea, okay? And just like understand what I'm getting at.
Most embarrassing thing about I think the most embarrassing thing about people simping for the ultra wealthy isn't necessarily like the delusion that they will also one day be super wealthy, or the belief that they have more in common with that really rich person than with like a homeless person, because I don't even necessarily think those things are always true. I think the most embarrassing thing is that when you look at how wealth is measured in our society, mostly it's measured by how little you have to deal with poor people or even really middle class people.
Like buying 2 homes when you don't need it, right? Like when people talk about how many homes they own, it's like you've already left. Bye. Now I understand you could make the argumentation that anyone making under 10 milli is a working class. And I agree. From a leftist economic perspective, I understand that. From a read the room perspective, interesting that Chelsea and her private TikTok, because this is her private TikTok, Fagan Chelsea, has a tendency to talk about the rich and getting away from the poor and moving away. But then all the content she puts out is basically about buying $500 swimsuits and buying a second home in France that was worth $1 million and spending $30,000 a year traveling to France to see her. You know what I mean? So it's like, what do you think you're doing with the way you're signaling, right? Okay, next video.
Get nearly enough respect in our society is really horny older couples. Like couples that have been together for decades and they're still obsessed with each other. Like they're flirting, they're joking, they're touching each other in public spaces. Like they maybe even hooked up in the coat room of this wedding.
Well, probably because we're moving into informed consent, and the fact that you fucked in a public closet that somebody could walk in on / on other people's property is considered inappropriate now. I mean, I hear you as a millennial who has definitely engaged in some inappropriate behavior. I don't think older couples are getting any of that social credit anymore because they're often unicorn hunters or engaging in sexual acts in public that are inappropriate. Like, you don't need to prove that you're in love. We get it. But it's interesting that she still romanticizes, because I think Chelsea is so stuck as a millennial, and it really shows up in her content, right? She's not updating her understanding of, even though she identifies as a progressive, she's not updating her understanding of progressive philosophy as a whole, right?
I'm going to hold your hand when I say this, but probably upwards of 80% of the anxiety and insecurity that you as a woman experience around aging could probably be assuaged, if not outright eliminated, if you had more older friends. Like throughout my adult life, I've always had a small handful of women who are like 10 or 15 or more years older than me that I would have considered friends. But in the past 6 months in particular, I've been hosting a podcast where I interview women over 50 about whatever they want to talk about. And several of these women I've become like actual real life friends with. And when I tell you, like, these bitches are living, they are vibrating at a frequency that essentially no woman my own age or younger could even understand. Like, they travel.
So Chelsea romanticizes older women. She romanticizes romanticizes divorcees. She romanticizes, like, I don't know what she is chasing, but she is, and that's why all her interviews on her channel are with these older women. And I'm sitting here like, older women are still struggling deeply to deconstruct patriarchy. A lot of the guests she interviews are capitalists. Like, they're women who brag about how much money they've made being capitalist. And I'm just like, this isn't inspirational. This isn't 2005 when we're not watching Sex in the City. It feels like Chelsea has not like disengaged from or deconstructed the Sex in the City days, even though she makes so much like anti-girl boss content. You know what I'm saying? How is this not girl boss content, right? And also, like, what do you mean by older friends? Because haven't we learned that age gap relationships, even in friendships, can be incredibly predatory? So what do you mean by have more older female friends? Do you mean people in their 50s considering people in their 20s peers? Because I don't think so. You're not a peer with somebody who's 22 and you're 55. You know, so also I need to know the context of what you mean that you should have older friendships. Chelsea's nearing 40 and she has older friendships. Fine, but that's not an older friendship. You're just old, Chelsea. But are you telling 21-year-olds they should be friends with people who are 45? Because why is that 45 not hanging out with other 45s? You know, so I do think, like, as a person who's had older friends in the past, personally, what I learned about people who were older hanging out with younger people is that they were incredibly stunted. Because when you have 55-year-old friends hanging out with your friends in their 20s, they end up dating those friends. So as much as we think like, oh, it's just friendship, I have a question about that. So again, how are you making these friends? What are you calling a friend? What are you actually bonding on? Do you mean peers? Do you mean working friends? Do you mean you're all in the same industry? I just have a lot of questions about this particular video.
They have hobbies, they have fabulous friends and adventures and excellent sex, and they do all of it while being in a body that looks its age. Like, they're beautiful, yes, but they're not beautiful in that like Hollywood uncanny valley, is she 25 or 50 because she would look weird for either age type of beauty that we're expected to have once we reach a certain age as women. Like, they have wrinkles and stomachs that aren't perfectly flat and breasts that have nursed children, and they've been through marriages and divorces and deaths and all of these things, and yet they are still incredibly desirable and incredibly relevant and living the fuck out of life. And not everybody grew up with the privilege of just having female.
I think what Chelsea says as friends are really people she's sort of like being mentored by, because I don't really think you're friends with older people. I think you're friends with older people the way you're in kindergarten class and everyone's friends. But I don't think, like, again, like, yes, you're friends. And yes, I've had friendships, close friendships. But I tell you this right now, what I've learned being friends with much older people is there is a stuntedness. That's why they're hanging out with me. And then I realized, like, shit, what is our friendship even based on? Like, I love you. I think you're beautiful. I'm so glad we know each other. And at the same time, like, you should not be relating to me. We should not be on the same page in terms of our life. So then what is happening? I'm not saying you can't be connected. I'm not saying you should build community. I'm not saying you should have mentors. But it feels like Chelsea's like a little girl who's like, oh my God, all these women are aspirational. I want to be like them when I'm their age. And then she's calling them friends. Do you know what I'm saying? This feels like when you're in an age dynamic with a guy and you're like 21 and he's 55 and you're like, I want to, you know, he's so much older and he just knows so much about life and I admire him. It's like, yeah, I don't know about that. Right now, again, there are nuances to this. There are layers to this. There's so much that I think can make this. So I'm not being black and white. If you hear me black and white, that's your brain, not mine. I am not being black and white about this. I am not saying you can't have friends of different ages, okay? So if you hear me say that, that's your brain, not my brain. I am denouncing it. I denounce it. I'm not saying that. I'm asking questions about what she means.
Role models around them who organically were living their best lives that they got to see growing up. Like, some people have that mom or that aunt or that grandma, but many people don't. So if the only older women that you are...
So you want an aunt or a grandma, not a friend. See? She just contradicted herself. Listen.
That grandma, but many people don't. Best lives that they got to see growing up. Like, some people have that mom or that aunt or that grandma, but many people don't.
Oh, so you don't have friends, you have aunties and grandmas. We need elders in our community to inspire us, but they're not our friends. They're elders in the community. So when she says you need older female friends and then says auntie and grandma, you need elders in the community, which is why I want to be an elder in the community. I don't be your fucking friend. I don't want to be your friend. I don't want to be a 21-year-old's friend. I want to be an elder in the community you can come to for wisdom. Right? But I don't, right?
So if the only older women that you are regularly seeing in close proximity are the women who happen to be in your family, many of whom may not be living their best life, and the only narratives you're getting about women aging are the horrible ones that come through media, especially youth-obsessed platforms like this one, no fucking wonder you're going to feel incredibly anxious at the idea of getting older and obsessed with the idea of staying young, or at least looking young. But trust me when I tell you that they are deliberately keeping you afraid of getting older, because that is an extremely lucrative industry. And it hinges on the idea that women have essentially nothing to offer other people, let alone themselves, past a certain age. And I need you to understand that this is wrong and that you are surrounded every day by women who are completely defying this. You just don't know them. And if you knew them, you would probably feel a lot better.
And yes, chat says, does she have a fear of aging? Yeah, I think she does. I think she has like a huge complex around it, which is why her content seems to be about it all the time. Also, people do think she looks older. So people will say like, Chelsea, you look like you dress like you're 50. And she makes comments about that. I mean, you know what I mean? I get it. But I think that's why it plays into the conversation she had about Ariana Grande. But it's interesting that Chelsea gets defensive when people come for the way she looks, but then doesn't understand that making a whole video about Ariana Grande is weird. Okay, now I'll just say this. I don't think you need to talk to older people to feel more comfortable aging. I think you just need to philosophically deconstruct beauty standards. And I think it can help to have older people who are doing it. But I really dislike the way my mother took it as a point of pride that she didn't dye her hair as she got older because she's not like other girls. I don't want to have to become a pick-me to, quote, age gracefully, right? I'm not saying my mother was completely like a pick-me, but I do think a lot of the way she felt like more natural. You know how conservatives are like, I love women that don't wear makeup and I love women that don't dye their hair. I'm allowed to, as I get older, dye my hair, get Botox, get piercings, and get plastic surgery without people calling me like anti-feminist, right? Now, it depends on why we do it. But I think Chelsea is falling into a trap that is actually a dog whistle from conservatives that says like natural is beautiful and natural is better. And I'm saying like, I'm not a bad person if I want to be an 80-year-old grandma with blue hair. But that's the implication, because aging, a part of the aging package of aging gracefully is also not dyeing your hair, you know? So be careful with this rhetoric, Chelsea. So again, let's play a little game called How Many Conservative Dog Whistles Can We Hear Throughout This Video? Because when I listened to it the first time, I was like, damn, bro. I felt like I was back at my conservative family reunion over here. Okay, so here we go. Chelsea Fagan.
We've now figured out how to weaponize.
Sorry, it's called Ariana Grande and the Failure of Choice Feminism, which is ironic because I don't think Chelsea understands what that is, but here we go. Oh, actually, I'm so sorry. Wait, oh my God, I forgot to show you something. Wait, I think this is important. Hold on. I'm so sorry. Wait, pause. Hold on.
Okay.
I'm so sorry. I got to show you this video because this also makes my point for me. I'm so sorry.
I'm sorry to bring.
It says, I'm still not over that article you wrote saying women who dress in certain clothes deserve to be essayed. Okay, shocking. I know, but listen.
I'm gonna rim down for a second, but I get comments like this every now and again. And one thing about me is I do not hide from my mistakes or allow anyone to hold them over me. So we're going to talk about what she's talking about. About 12 years ago, I wrote an article for a website that I worked for at the time about how women who dressed in revealing ways should not be surprised when they then get harassed or assaulted. I won't link to it because I don't want to give any more clicks to it, but you can find it if you look hard enough. And I could give a lot of context for the article. I was 22. I was working under enormous pressure to generate clicks, which often came through controversy, and was dead broke, so I couldn't lose the job. I was also coming off of a horrendous pick-me/libertarian phase and basically knew very little about the real world. And
okay, pause. I believe her. I'm going to say right now, as a girlie who grew up conservative, I 100% believe her. I'm deeply empathetic to this, and my heart breaks for her. Because nothing is more mortifying than recognizing that we ever put out content that in any way fed into conservative talking points. And yet I tell you, this is why I say Chelsea still has to deprogram herself from these days, because I see conservative talking points still in her content to this day. And I'm saying she still has to work on it. Okay, so though this happened when she was 22, she's now, I think, my age, 37, and I'm still hearing conservative dog whistles in her content. And I don't blame her. We all have to deprogram. We all have to unlearn. I get it. But that's why I've been consistently critical of her work, because it feels like she keeps hanging out with older women that are still more conservative than she's willing to believe. Because these older women are probably still deconstructing patriarchy as well. So if she said in TikTok, I couldn't find it today, but she has said in her work that she stopped listening to younger people and only watches older people. The dilemma is those older people are still really struggling with patriarchy, right?
A lot of my identity and validation came from being a bit of a contrarian. But there's no excuse. The article was horrendous, and at the time I got what we would now call today canceled. Basically, the whole internet was after me for a while, and rightfully so. It took years for my Google results to return to somewhat normal. About a year after writing that article, I wrote a follow-up article on the same website talking about the things I had learned and apologizing for the harm that I had caused. But 12 years on, it is everyone's individual choice whether or not they want to forgive me for that. I am personally comfortable with the work that I have done and the changes that I've made in my own life since then, but you don't have to feel the same way. The point, though, is that because of that experience, I always try to err on the side of people being able to change and understanding that no one comes out of the womb with perfectly formed politics. And part of the reason that my political volunteering often comes in the form of phone banking and canvassing is because, A, I do believe it's worth trying to change minds one-on-one, but also because frequently coming into contact with people who have totally different ideas than myself and my circles reminds me that we are all starting at a totally different place.
Definitely.
When I look back at the controversy of that time and the reaction I received, I could very easily see myself having gone the totally other route and becoming like an alt-right influencer whose shtick is hating women. And while I totally deserved to be called out, I'm also very grateful that I got a chance to become a much better person who now I believe is actually contributing to good in society. Anyway, I may seem today like a fully formed person with really strong ideas, but trust me that it was a long road to get where I am today. And I am not ashamed of my past because it made me who I am.
Okay, so I am ashamed of my past, even though it made me who I am, and I regret it every day, and I think that's important. This was posted 2 years ago. I am ashamed of my past. I'm mortified that I contributed in any way to anything that harmed marginalized people, and I wish I could go back and change it. I don't care that it made me who I was today, because I think I could have been a better person without that experience. So that's the difference. I do regret it. And I wish people would learn to regret things a little bit more, you know, because it was harmful. With that said, this comment really had me. It says, it took me forever to remember her name, but do you guys remember Lacey Green? I feel like she fell down the alt-right pipeline for the same reason. Well, Lacey Green fell down that pipeline because she felt like she was getting harassed by trans people, and Lacey disappeared from the internet. But I've met Lacey Green, fun fact, at a conference. She's shorter than me. Anyways, yeah, like a lot of feministy girls at the time, like Lacey, came out and they became stagnant. That's what my fear is with Chelsea. I just see so much stagnation in her. And I'm not doing this to bully Chelsea or something. I'm kind of hoping that she sees my content and secretly goes, oh yeah, what am I doing? Because like, I want to support people. Guys, I want to be everyone's biggest fan. But I can't blindly say, oh, they're working on it. She'll get there. You're too old. You know what I'm saying? You're too old. You're not 21 anymore. I mean, we're all almost 40. So we can't just sit there and say, oh, one day, like, we'll get it. Or maybe tomorrow you know what I'm saying? Okay. So, all right. Chet said, Brittany, I think it's a bit ageist to assume older women are necessarily stuck in conservative views. I know plenty of older women who actually grew more progressive or relaxed in their thinking. It's not ageist if the statistic probability is true. It is more likely than true that as we age, we become stagnant. Right? It is factually true that our brains slow down. We become more set in our ways. This is why we have to keep working on things. It doesn't match up with reality to say most women are progressive when women are getting interviewed and talking about taking away our rights to vote, right? Like, generally, women are conservative globally. Women are homophobic and transphobic globally. Like, you cannot take this away because you know a few conservative women. Women uphold patriarchy every fucking day. Women are voting for Trump every fucking day. Women are absolutely joining conservative movements every fucking day. Chelsea Fagan herself is literally screaming conservative dog whistles throughout this whole video because she is becoming stagnant. So none of us are exempt. No matter how progressive you seem, no matter how many tattoos and piercings you have, you could end up a conservative. So again, I hear you. You think it's ageist. I'm going off statistics here. So again, like, just look at the numbers, look at the way the world is. We can't sit here and say, oh, I wonder how the world is the way that it is, and think that it isn't the majority of people. None of us are exempt from the contribution we've made to stagnation. A lot of older women will say, I believe in women's rights, and I believe in trans rights, but I don't want my kids to be trans. That means you're anti-trans rights. Oh, it's okay if other people's kids are trans, but not my kids. That's not a progressive woman. Okay, right? So that's what I'm saying, but I hear you, okay? Here's Chelsea's video on Ariana. Here we go.
We've now figured out how to weaponize extremely strategic and cynical social justice language or feminist language to pretend as if even acknowledging these problems that, to be clear, affect all of us as we watch them is somehow bigoted or misogynist or at minimum insensitive. That's a really crucial difference, right? We not only now are watching people be sick in public, we can't even say that they're sick. Hi, everyone. It's me, Chelsea.
White woman strategy from Chelsea is always feeling like she's being attacked. Notice that? Okay, dog whistle number one. I'm always attacked. People are attacking me. I'm just saying the truth and I get attacked for it. Very different narrative given the context of the conversation. So dog whistle one.
I am not in what may appear to be some sort of Moroccan spa. I am indeed in the little studio where we are going to be filming our final episodes of Just Getting Good in the morning. My train literally just pulled into the station here an hour ago, and I had absolutely no intention of pulling out my camera and filming a video. But in case you didn't see, I made a short video about this subject yesterday that has already caused some conversation here and elsewhere. But in addition to kind of expanding on that and speaking about this subject in a more nuanced way and responding to some of those comments, I also want to
pause. She's going to show clips from that TikTok here. I don't think she's going to show the whole TikTok. Should we watch the TikTok on its own before we should? Hold on. Let me go back. Oh yeah, this is an example. I'm going to show you this. Actually, I didn't mean to pull this up. It just came up naturally. People keep showing this. I'm going to mute it because of copyright. Oh, here's Ariana in 2019 and here's her in 2026 to the same song, the Seven Rings song. And they're like, we want this Ariana, this one. Okay, this Ariana is a completely different brand. They're saying, oh, it's because she's sick and anorexic. She's this, like, it's also a completely different fucking brand. You know what I'm saying? Yes, she's skinny. Yes, she's probably sick. Yes, a lot of things. It's none of my business, though. Like, Ariana probably has family and friends who know. And you know what I'm saying? Like, 2019 Ariana she was black here. That's a joke, but it was hip hop Ariana. She was using blackface and blackfishing and you know what I mean? She was speaking AVE. You know what I'm saying? You want black sent Ariana back? That's what I'm saying. People don't understand what they're asking for. Okay, let me see. People are so funny, bro. I'm telling you. Living on the internet is such a fucking weird place. Okay, hold on. Here we go.
I can tolerate a lot in terms of how our culture tends to mishandle really serious issues, but one thing I have always struggled with is having my intelligence insulted.
Okay, see, dog whistle number two. You know, don't insult my intelligence. I can see Ariana has an eating disorder. Don't make me burp into this mic, okay? What is this? No one's insulting your intelligence, Chelsea. Nobody is thinking Ariana is the epitome of health. You know what I'm saying? Like, who are you shadowboxing?
2 years straight, the entire Wicked press tour, there was a never-ending cycle of conversation wherein people would rightfully point out, hey, something is really wrong here, not just in terms of physical appearance, but also with all of the additional context we have from old social media posts, well-documented mental health issues, etc. That not only do we as a society have a responsibility to not normalize, let alone glamorize this, we also have an increased responsibility to do so when the target of this massive media empire is specifically young women and girls. Which is not to say we need to blame a sick person for being sick, but rather how we talk about that sickness as a society, as with things like addiction, for example, really fucking matters. And every time those comments were met with, you don't know, she could be at her healthiest right now, don't talk about women's bodies. Or even invoking cases like Chadwick Boseman as if to imply that
keep his name out of your fucking mouth, girl.
That anyone talking about this is insensitive because it's equally likely that she could be dying of cancer instead of suffering from the extremely well-documented mental illness that she has already been on record as having.
So you admit it. She's sick. Keep your mouth shut. We already know she's sick. Stop talking about it. What is she saying? How is she missing the fucking point? The point is she's sick. So stop talking about it. You already know. We know. Sick people deserve to work. Sick people shouldn't be shielded away. She's basically making the argument, and she'll make it in this video, that sick people shouldn't have jobs. That supporting Ariana or going to her concerts is supporting her eating disorder if she has one, because it's not my business to know. And I'm saying people with eating disorders deserve to have jobs. Okay? How many conservative people say this exact thing about fat people? Don't lie to me. You know you're sick. I can see it. Don't insult my intelligence. Don't insult my common sense, which Chelsea's all going to say throughout her video. She's going to say common sense so many times. I think I'm listening to Dave Ramsey, okay? Don't insult my intelligence. I know that you're sick. You can't be healthy and fat. That's basically what Chelsea does throughout this whole video.
To in any way address what is happening right in front of our faces and being endlessly glamorized in the media, because to be clear, whether now or on the Wicked Press Tour, we are still getting endless promotional photo shoots and interviews and highlight reels, all somewhere between insensitive and...
Okay, Chad says, I think she's making the argument on the basis that Ariana's fans see her and want to look like her, in which way is a common argument against the internet. But that's also what people say about fat people. Oh, that's what people say about punks and people with tattoos and split tongues. Oh my God, don't you know you're influencing people? That's what they say about women who wear low-cut shirts. If children see you, they'll want to be like you. Yeah. Okay, let's talk about that then. Let's talk about the nuance of all of the things that are connected. Yes, if people see us, guys, I just went plant-based for a year and a half, and the amount of people that DM me going, Brittany, I've been trying to go plant-based. I'm thinking about being vegan. Like, I didn't know y'all were to be so influenced. I appreciate it, but oh my God, I didn't know this. Like, I did not in any way think my audience would start sending me messages. I didn't think my sister would literally call me and say, I ate vegan today. And I was like, okay, girl. And she was like, yeah, you've really like inspired me. I was like, okay, that was not my intention, but thank you. Like, yes, we influence people. And also, I deserve to exist. Ariana deserves to exist. Like, what is the solution here? Okay.
Outright misogynist. So the conversation was shut down because we can't talk about women's bodies no matter what is playing out directly in front of our faces. So the videos like the one I just did.
Who were you shut down by, Chelsea? Who put you in golden handcuffs? You know who Chelsea Fagan is? She's that SpongeBob meme where SpongeBob has his hands in the handcuffs, but the handcuffs are really big. That is Chelsea Fagan. This is what I mean. She is suffering from white woman delusion where she is just like, oh my gosh, no one's letting me talk about Ariana's body. Well, she literally goes and makes an Ariana video that gets 200,000 views and a TikTok that gets 9,000 likes and no one's stopping you, Chelsea.
From her new tour to me are not at all surprising. In fact, they are the logical conclusion of a culture that continues to reward this. Or treats it as somehow less urgent of a life-threatening issue than, for example, a star who is falling down on stage because they are so intoxicated. I personally feel at this point buying tickets to a tour like this is a little unethical. It feels to me more like going to a human zoo than seeing a pop star at the top of their game. Because you are watching an extremely sick person continue to act as if
Okay, great. So people with eating disorders don't deserve to have jobs. They can't be seen in public. Ariana is now an animal that shouldn't be viewed. Going and supporting a woman who's having a struggle with her eating disorder is disgusting. Are you fucking serious right now? You know what I'm saying? Are we so fucking serious? Do you know how many people used to ask me, do you think it's ethical for you to make content when you're mentally unwell? And I'm like, I'm in therapy. I'm literally in therapy. But because I'm struggling, I can't make content. Like, I understand if the content is harmful. If you can truly prove to me the content is harmful, we can talk about it. But you're saying Ariana Grande can't sing on stage because she has an eating disorder? That's the logic?
Thing is normal. At the end of the day, people can attend whatever they like, celebrate whatever they like, continue to normalize whatever they like. However, I personally will not have my intelligence insulted and be told that I am not seeing what I am very clearly seeing, that it doesn't have massive implications for all of the young women and girls.
It's just interesting that Chelsea went on a GLP-1 and her audience was so disappointed in her because, like, why are you trying to be skinnier? And then she has the audacity to be like, I can't believe a woman with an eating disorder exists. Chelsea has an eating disorder. She talks about it in this video. I'm not coming for Chelsea. It's none of my business what Chelsea does to feel good in her body. But also, right? Like, it's like she's living in a world where she's like, I fucking hate rich people. Let me buy a second house that's $1 million. I hate women with eating disorders. Also, I'm on a GLP-1 because I have an eating disorder. It's like, what the fuck, Chelsea? What is happening? Can you please go to therapy or get a new therapist or something?
Those who are looking up to this. So enjoy the show, I guess.
Like, she felt like she ate with that. She felt like she literally ate. Okay, here we go. Ready?
This is just kind of an issue where I really want to plant my flag in the ground and really speak on this topic, because I think that among all the problems that we have right now in our country and in the world, one of them is that I think we are in a very scary place as it pertains to feminism and specifically women's bodies, how we talk about them, how we think about them. And although, and this is to head off the comments, we are primarily a financial channel, we do talk about all kinds of socio-political issues, including ones that...
Yeah, Chad already says, man, why is she using fascist dog whistles every sentence? Oh, it gets worse. Oh, hold on to your butts, kids.
May not be as directly related to money, and this is one of them. This is going to be much more about feminism and bodies. If that is not your bag, no worries, we can meet each other later. I'm not going to do my usual ad spiel. If you've been thinking about getting a hold of your money, the products that we use and...
Oh, I'm sorry. I got a message from a member. Thank you so much. Meg, membership for 10 months says, I'm one of those people too, less bad every day. Oh, going plant-based or eating more plant-based? Let's go, girls. Little less bad every day. And listen to me when I say I'm very passionate about this topic. I really want to respect Chelsea Fagan. I don't ever want to feel like I'm coming for another woman. I just feel so passionate about the fact that, like, I want to see Chelsea succeed. And I just feel like she's going down this path that feels so conservative and so reductive. And I just hate to see a girl fall so heavily when she wants to succeed so badly that I just feel like her conservative roots are creeping up behind her and she doesn't even know. She doesn't even see it happening. And I'm just trying to scream, please, Chelsea, please. I feel like that Matthew McConaughey scene in Interstellar. Please, don't go down this route, please.
Words are in the description. Check them out if you want. If not, no worries. But I want to get into this topic. I'm going to start with a big trigger warning that we are going to be specifically speaking about disordered eating, mental illness, addiction, extreme thinness, body dysmorphia, all of these topics that I know are very sensitive for people. And if that is not a subject you feel comfortable hearing right now, no worries at all, but this is not the video for you. I'm going to speak.
Wait, no, chat. It says this is the same argument as not giving money to criminals like R. Kelly and Harvey Weinstein, though through art, but it's decidedly not the same. Well, yeah, because they're rapists. Ariana Grande just has an eating disorder. I feel like they're not even the same. You know what I mean? I don't even think it's the same as, like, I just feel like eating disorders are different than other things.
About these things very, very candidly. Yeah, I really hope that we can deal with this subject with some compassion and nuance, but also with a lot of honesty, because I think it is specifically the honesty that has been really missing in the way that we talk about these things. What specifically spurred on my video yesterday was some footage from the first concerts of Ariana Grande's new tour, which were, I'm just going to put a few stills here on screen. These have not been edited. These are just candids taken from people in the audience, some, candid videos of her obviously looking really, really scary, extremely severely.
Okay, you do not look scary. I am not scared of you. You are not scary. You're not scary. Dog whistle number 3. I'm not even going to keep track because it's going to be too many. You do not look scary. Your body is not scary. You're not ugly. You're not scary. You might be suffering, but hey, aren't we all? But you are not scary.
Underweight, and also seemingly barely being able to do any kind of basic choreography, being extremely low energy, just looking really on the verge of collapse. And seeing those videos populate my social media accounts really pushed me to make the video that I made yesterday, which I will just play in its entirety here because I don't want to, these are very sensitive issues, so I want to just quote myself exactly here. So I can tolerate a lot in terms of how our culture tends to mishandle really serious issues. But one thing I've always struggled with.
I guess she is going to play the whole TikTok. Well, we already watched it, so I'm going to forward it because we already watched this.
So enjoy the show, I guess. But as you can see, my sort of larger thesis, and this conversation goes very far beyond Ariana Grande, although she is obviously one of the most clear current examples of the problem, is not even so.
Okay, hold on, guys. Chet says Eugenia Cooney is a tad scary. They're not scary. This is like goes into ableism. This plays into beauty privileges and stuff like that. Guys, like, Ariana is suffering, right? No one is trying to play in your face about it. I'm trying to say we literally cannot know what's wrong with her, and we cannot know if it's eating disorder plus something else. She's suffering. Why are we commenting on it? Do you know what I'm saying? Eugenia Cooney is suffering. Why are we commenting on it? Why are you making think pieces about Eugenia Cooney? We know she's suffering. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying, what are we doing commenting on people's bodies? Like, in this particular way, if you're concerned, talk to your family members and say, hey, I love you. I just want to make sure you're doing okay. How are you? You know what I mean? Don't, like, this is unnecessary. So mind you, I'm not making a think piece about Ariana today. I'm making a think piece about Chelsea's opinions.
So much the extreme thinness, because I think we are at least able at this point to sort of acknowledge as a culture that thin is back in, that extreme thinness is increasingly a problem, that many of the celebrities and other figures in our public eye, especially women, have suddenly gone from being, let's say, on the slimmer side to being alarmingly thin right in front of our eyes. Another example that I think of a lot when I think of this is someone like Demi Moore, who we've seen recently on red carpets looking like this, which isn't unusual in itself. We're seeing a lot of this, but does feel particularly ironic given her role in the movie The Substance, which did feel so kind of prescient.
I think think the issue is Chelsea on one side of her mouth talks about how she has no kids in her life, how or she has no kids personally, and then I don't know about the kids in her life from her friend's perspective, but she doesn't watch younger people. She only watches older people. I think she's talking about herself. I wish Chelsea would say watching Ariana triggers me instead of Ariana. Like, I'm not going to pretend I'm not seeing what I'm seeing. You should be talking to the girls in your life. If you're so concerned about girls, go talk to them about it, right? But this whole video is like, and we'll get to it, but it doesn't send a positive message. It sends no resources. It's just complaining about people keeping Chelsea from sharing her opinion about a woman's body instead of explaining to people that like, you deserve to be seen. I would never want my family and friends to hear me say that like, because you're sick, you should not be witnessed. What happened to representation? Like, yes, eating disorders are a personal, it's a very personal thing. And I've never suffered from one, disclaimer, but I'll tell you this right now. It doesn't, one, I've had people in my life who suffer from it. But when I think about them, I could never make this video and feel good about it, because if they watched it, it would just make them feel so horrible. Like to say like, you shouldn't be seen, you're a human zoo. You're calling them animals, like in not the factual scientific way. You're saying Ariana is an animal in a zoo. She is a woman with an eating disorder who's doing her job. It's a very different phenomenon than something different. Like if she was being like drugged before she went on stage and forced to go, like we can talk about K-pop stars being overworked. That we should have that conversation for sure. But the fact that she has an eating disorder cannot be the reason she's not allowed to perform. That's ridiculous. That's like saying if you have cancer, you can't perform. If you have a drug addiction, you can't perform. Like, people get to perform. We get to perform. Okay, we get to exist. We can't be hidden away. What do you want to do? Put women in institutions again? It just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense.
And thoughtful and critical of this exact kind of dynamic that we're now seeing play out insofar as women are under an immense pressure, not only to look beautiful and young and timeless, but also to be incredibly thin. And it's worth noting as a side note that especially as we age, being incredibly thin and appearing very youthful are often kind of operating at cross purposes. So even though it was never easy to fit into beauty standards, this particular intersection of beauty standards is really tough. But I say that to say that Ariana Grande is by far not the only person that we've seen exhibiting a deeply alarming level of thinness in the public eye. It's just one that's very much top of people's minds right now, not only because the images are coming out from her tour, which are frankly quite alarming to see, but also because we have the recent memory of, as I mentioned in my video, the 2-year-long Wicked press tour where many people were kind of raising these alarm bells and were being sort of dismissed or told that to speculate on this in any way, or even to just name what they're seeing, is a kind of misogyny. Now, the reason for me that
it's because it's policing women's bodies, Chelsea. You're policing people's bodies. You're not saying it in a loving, healthy way. You're not saying, mind your business. These women are getting help if they need help. You're policing their bodies. You're saying they shouldn't be seen in public because they might influence people in it is misogyny.
Feels this sort of cultural gaslighting, this insistence that we not acknowledge what we are obviously seeing happen in front of our eyes, or framing it as something that it is obviously not. To me, that feels like a step beyond what I think we're already acknowledging, which is that there are these insane, unsustainable standards of thinness. It's the extra layer of sort of obfuscating that and pretending like it's not happening, or at least putting a real social pressure to not acknowledge that it's happening, that feels to me even more sinister than usual. In preparing for this video, I went back and watched some videos of Karen Carpenter, who is a figure that a lot of people will reference when they're talking about cases like Ariana Grande, because you can sort of put images next to each other on screen and see that Ariana Grande is very similar in appearance, if not sometimes appearing even more thin than Karen Carpenter before she obviously tragically passed away of anorexia nervosa. I went back and watched some interviews with her, and what was very striking was in several of these interviews, the interviewers were very bluntly, and in my opinion, really sort of in a very tone-deaf, not compassionate way, asking quite openly about her rumored struggles with disordered eating. I don't, for the record, think that the solution should be we need to be essentially ambushing these celebrities on red carpets to ask them why they look the way they do, or whether or not they have an eating disorder. I don't think that that's a better approach. I think that that's actually really misunderstands the nature of the illness, because to ask someone a question like that in an interview is sort of pretending as though you're dealing with a rational actor, whereas someone who is in the throes of disordered eating is not going to be able to admit, or in many cases doesn't even view themselves necessarily as having a problem, not dissimilar to things like addiction or other mental health issues. It did really stand out to me watching some of those interviews, because I thought about how unthinkable that directness, that acknowledgement would be in today's media and celebrity culture. There's been a lot of discourse about sort of the death of the interview and the fact that often now we have celebrities and influencers interviewing other celebrities and influencers, which often sort of avoids anything even remotely approaching an uncomfortable or even unexpected question and sort of leaving the interview as just essentially a piece of PR for the celebrity.
Okay, this is what I want to say, because Chad, I'm very empathetic to you. You said, I think there is a conversation to be had here, but the way Chelsea's talking about it is wrong. My 12-year-old niece developed an eating disorder from idolizing Taylor Swift. She had to be hospitalized twice. Okay, I grew up in a very fat phobic family, right? I'm lucky I didn't suffer from an eating disorder, but I think it's because I'm rebellious. So when my family tells me like, oh, you're too fat or oh, you're too skinny, like right now I'm considered skinny fat by my family. If my family saw me, they'd be like, oh, you're like skinny fat right now. Okay. Okay, right? And I get it. I get why they call me skinny fat, and that's because I'm not toned everywhere. I have fat that jiggles, right? And I understand. I would love to be stronger and firmer, not necessarily skinnier, but that's what you call skinny fat, okay? And it's true, right? No, chat says you're toned with a healthy amount of fat. I actually. With peace, well, hold on. No, stop. Don't talk about my body. Wait, pause. Don't talk about my body. No. Don't do it. Don't talk about my body. Wait, hold on. I should have prefaced this. Don't. Listen. I know what I look like, and I know how I feel, and I know what I want for my body. It is no one's business what I want for my body. Yeah? It's no one's business how I look. It is no one's business, period. Okay? If I want to be more toned, if I want to be fatter, if I want to be thinner, it's no one's fucking business. I don't have to justify it. I don't have to anything. But when you grow up in a household that is constantly talking about your body, it's constantly, your children develop eating disorders or they develop a sense of feeling about their body. And I'm saying it's not just Taylor Swift and Ariana Grande. It's your mother and your father. It's your brothers. It's your sisters. It's your aunties, right? That's what I want us to focus on. It's not just stars or movie stars. It's not just, you don't have to justify your body. You don't have to compliment me on my body and say, no, Brittany, you're pretty, or no, Brittany, you're toned, or no, Brittany. I'm nothing. I am what I am. It doesn't have to, I don't have to qualify my body. And that instinct comes from us living in a world where we grow up having to qualify our bodies to our family members, our teachers, our community members, our magazines. You know, you don't have to compliment my body. You don't have to compliment me. I'm fine the way I exist. You don't have to reassure me I'm whatever, but I know that instinct comes from a care, right? And I'm saying it is not just celebrities. It's the people we go home to. It's the people we marry. It's the people we're friends with. I'm less worried about celebrities and I'm more worried about the family members who talk about people's bodies around the dinner table while their kids are listening. Imagine Chelsea Fagan is talking this way in front of teenage girls while she thinks she's having a powwow with them and these little girls are listening and internalizing this. All they're going to hear is probably the opposite of what Chelsea's trying to make them hear. You know what I mean? Okay, but I understand, right? And again, even, when it comes to health, I see you guys talking about it. You don't owe health to anyone. Listen to me when I say this. You don't get to moralize being healthy. You don't get to do it. Okay? I don't want to hear you talk about, oh, but are you healthy though? None of your fucking business. None of your fucking business. The only kind of health I care about is mental health. As long as you are on a good, relationship health with yourself, that's all I care about is your relationship with self. Not even mental health the way conservatives think about it. All I care about is whether or not you have a healthy relationship with yourself. That's the only health I care about. Okay? It's no one's business about anything else. Okay?
I've been thinking about that, and I think one of the things that is worth noting there is that, sure, sometimes that just makes for really boring and flat interviews that don't really feel very interesting. In the case of things like a political figure, it totally lets them off the hook for what should be really serious issues. But in the case of celebrities, where they are clearly, I mean, very, very sick in front of our eyes, I use the term human zoo in my video to describe what I feel to be the dynamic of purchasing a ticket to go see someone perform who is at that level of visible sickness. And I don't use the term lightly. I believe that it is.
Oh my God, wait, chat. Chat said, with love and respect, powwow is not appropriate. And I know you don't want to use that language that appropriates indigenous cultures. I don't know anything about it. Wait, I don't know what powwow, I thought powwow, I didn't even know it was indigenous. I'm so sorry. I don't even know the history of that, but I will look it up. Powwow. Okay, I didn't know that. My bad, girl. Thank you for telling me. I didn't know that. That's the first time I've ever heard that. I don't even know what that means as it relates to indigenous people. I thought it was just like chit-chatty. I thought it was like hanging out. Thank you for telling us though. Okay, I'll keep that in mind.
Deeply ethically compromised to essentially go and cheer on someone who is in the throes of a profound, serious illness. But even leaving aside the sort of fan relationship, and now as we have it, the sort of stan relationship where rooting for a celebrity is akin to kind of like rooting for a sports team, and there's not really—
Oh, Chatter's saying it's an indigenous celebration. That I'm just learning that for the first time. Thank you so much for telling us. No, I did not know that. You just popped a huge bubble for me. I never knew that. Wow. Thank you for telling me.
Any sort of nuance or thoughtful criticism in how we relate to people that we like, which is in many ways, I think, kind of the flip side of quote unquote cancel culture, which is the quote unquote completely sort of uncritical, unwilling to interrogate culture of just embracing everything a celebrity does, no matter how questionable or problematic or harmful to even themselves, because you've deemed them someone you like. I think this can be said, for example, about like people's hesitation to be—
Wait, I got to listen to Chelsea again. I was distracted by chat.
Quote unquote completely sort of uncritical, unwilling to interrogate culture of just embracing everything a celebrity does, no matter how questionable or problematic or harmful to even themselves, because you've deemed them someone you like. I think this can be said, for example, about like people's hesitation to be critical of a Taylor Swift, for example, despite I think our knowledge on some level that no one is an ethical billionaire. It becomes a lot harder to have that sort of thoughtful, measured criticism when it's someone for whom you're a fan. But when we're thinking about the media's relationship to someone who is deeply sick, which I think is not only a different dynamic, but a different level of responsibility than just a fan buying a ticket to the show, which again, I still think is very, very ethically compromised when someone has reached the level of sickness that we're currently at. And we've seen—
Ooh. See, okay. And I see, this is where it gets a little muddy, where now she's feeling entitled to correcting people's behavior. One, she does not know Ari. And two, she should be using this to talk to people in her life. Example, one of my friends sent me a picture of their gym progress the other day, and she was looking skinny, like skinny. And I was like, uh-oh. And I did have a moment of concern. And so I wanted to like, just check in, and just say like, hey, how are you feeling about yourself? Like, how do you feel about that photo? And they were like, yeah, I feel pretty good about it. And I was like, and it was kind of like, it was making me feel away, but I actually think it was the gym mirror, because I was like, how are you feeling? And I talked to them later on the phone, and I said, hey, I just want to let you know I love you. And I was just like slightly concerned with the photo, just like a little, like, I just want to ask how you're doing. We had the conversation, and they were like, no, I swear I'm not that thin. I think the mirror was just like in the gym. And I was like, okay, I'm just making sure because I love you. And I just want you to know that, like, I know in the past you've dealt with stuff, and I just want you to know that, like, I'm here if you want to talk about anything. And we talked about it, and it was fine. But it was one of those things where, we do have concern about our loved ones. You know what you can do? Talk to them about it in a way that says, I care about you first and foremost. Like, how do you care? Like, how do you feel about it? Like, how are you doing? Instead of, I need to talk to you. I don't like the way your body looks. It's like, what does it matter if you like the way my body looks? You know what I mean? So it's like, again, if the people in your life, if you're besties, if these are your friends and you are safe to talk to them about it, sure. I just think like a lot of people in our lives approach this like in the worst way possible. You know what I mean? And so again, if you have that relationship with your friend, if you don't, you know what I'm saying? You can just say, hey, if you ever need anything, let me know. Hey, I love you. If you ever want to talk about anything, I'm here for you. Right?
With other celebrities, right? Celebrities who could barely stand up or perform on stage because they were so intoxicated. I would also think it is very sort of, let's say, sideshow adjacent to go see that as if it were normal. So I do automatically really side.
Chat says, if their body weight drastically drops way below healthy levels, couldn't that be considered mental health issue? Okay, let me just say it one more time, because I think I said it wrong the first time. Though I have concerns with people's mental health, people struggle with constant mental health for the rest of their life. They're still reliable people. You can be anorexic and struggle with mental health and still be a good mother, still be a good father, still be a good parent. You can still be a great teacher, a great society, like a great member of society. We have to be very careful when we say I'm struggling with mental health. Does not take away your right to exist in public or your right to exist in your art form, or where you don't get to punish people who are struggling, because a lot of us are struggling. That's why a lot of people don't talk about their struggle, because people will naturally say, well, if you're struggling, maybe you shouldn't be seen. If you're struggling, maybe you shouldn't be a part of this. If you're struggling. So what I'm concerned about is making sure that people who struggle don't have to lose everything they built because they're struggling. Right? Because that's my focus here.
That at this point. But when it comes to the media, I think part of the reason why our current sort of skinny apocalypse has been able to reach the amplitude that it has is because we do not have a critical or even direct relationship with celebrity anymore, even as the media. So again, when we think about who is interviewing celebrities, what questions are we putting forth to them, how are we receiving them? If you go back and look at the Wicked press tour, it would be absolutely unthinkable for one of the people interviewing these celebrities to say, you know, there's been a lot of conversation about you two both looking really, really thin. And in fact, many of the stars of this film franchise looking really, really thin. Can you speak to that? Or something of the like. And by the way, if there were people asking them those questions on the media tour, please link them below. I have not seen them.
Why would that be appropriate, Chelsea, for a woman to be questioned about her body? Haven't women dealt with that this whole time? Women have asked people to stop asking me questions about my body. We already had that for years. Oh, you're looking skinny. Oh, your boobs. Oh, your lips. Like, we're sick of being asked those questions. Stop asking me about my body. If I volunteer it, if I'm an advocate, if I want to talk about it. But no, Chelsea, that would be inappropriate. That's what we've been advocating against. Do not talk to me about my body. Now, if Chelsea thinks these women ethically have an obligation to talk about it because they are celebrities, fine. But we should not be encouraging influencers to ask us about our bodies. They might as well. What do you want them to do next, Chelsea? Ask them how many people they've slept with? Hey, how thin are you? And also, what's your body count? How about no?
Perhaps they exist, but suffice to say, it is very, very, very rare to hear those kinds of questions in any kind of media or sort of press appearance. And so I do think that on the one hand, we have this kind of culture.
See what I mean by conservative? These are conservative talking points. This is straight up out of the conservative playbook.
Cultural awareness that people, especially women, are suddenly looking extremely thin. It's extremely worrisome. In the case of someone like an Ariana Grande, for whom there is ample documented history of disordered behavior, mental health issues, and every reason to suspect that this is someone in the potentially terminal stages of the deadliest mental illness, we can acknowledge that.
I feel like if Ariana, God forbid, passed away early, Chelsea would feel good about it. Because she'd feel like I was right. Chelsea, you're not going to get a trophy for pointing out that people are sick. That's so fucked up. It feels like Chelsea is excited that Ariana is sick and she's pointing it out. It just this video just turned me off so bad.
This is happening. We can write think pieces about it. We can make videos about it. We can sort of talk about it as a general cultural phenomenon. But when it comes to the actual human beings themselves, there is still an enormous taboo around acknowledging it directly, around naming it for what it is, around saying this isn't healthy, this isn't normal. And that pushback that I mentioned in my video of don't comment on women's bodies, or she could be healthy and we wouldn't know, or we don't know anything about how she eats, I think is actually much more cynical and sinister than we give it credit for. I am not comfortable saying that everyone who invokes that language when talking about someone who is very visibly sick is doing so to protect their own disordered habits. I don't think that's universally true, but I do think it is very convenient for people who do not want to acknowledge their own unhealthy habits, or who do not generally want more cultural scrutiny on the issue of someone looking that way. I think it serves that very cynical purpose. I think it's also, in the case of someone like an Ariana Grande, who is a multi-billion-dollar industry unto herself, very lucrative and, let's just say, keeps a lot of people employed to intentionally look the other way and not acknowledge it, to pretend like it's not happening. Anyone who's seen, for example, the Amy Winehouse documentary knows that they were throwing her up on that stage until literally the day she died.
Okay, hold on. I don't think those things are analogous at all. Amy Winehouse was struggling from an addiction that was so specific and an abuse from an industry. All these women are being abused by the industry, right? I don't think they're comparable. And I also think, like, you need to understand there is a difference. And yet I would agree that the industry is abusive to all the people in it. That's why I refuse to do it, right? That's why I wouldn't ever want to be in modeling or music or any of these industries, because I think it's all very toxic. That doesn't change the fact that these women deserve to exist. And I don't think they're analogous. I don't think they're the same. I mean, Amy Winehouse was slurring her words and intoxicated, and she was like this. She was literally passing out on stage. That's so different than Ariana being tired because she's struggling with an eating disorder. And either which way, obviously, ideally, these women could take a hiatus and disappear for 5 years and try to get healthy. And at the same time, that's not how that works. Like, these are sometimes lifelong struggles. You know what I mean? So I just think this is an inappropriate comparison.
And when you watch the last performances that she did, it is so clear that anyone in her life who truly cared about her would have pulled her off that stage. And yet,
that's funny, because that's how I feel about Chelsea. Like, if somebody really loved Chelsea, they would stop her from making this content. But maybe the truth is like, we can be loved and people in our life can't control us. The truth is, it doesn't matter. Like, we're going to do what we're going to do. So I would rather love my friend, even through their self-harm, than, you know what I mean? Like, my love isn't going to stop. But you're an adult, Chelsea. Nobody's stopping you from making this content.
I'm looking at some of her family members there, but it was frankly way too profitable to not acknowledge that. So I think that there's sort of a few things that are coming together here that are all they don't necessarily have the same intentions, but they are all equally served and benefited by us pretending that A, we're not seeing what we're seeing, or that B, to comment on
who is telling you this? Who of us don't know what we're like? We understand. We're just not commenting on it because we know it's not going to help. We've already tried to do this. Years people commented on women's bodies. It didn't help anyone. So why do you think it's going to help now?
Body of someone who is actively wasting away in front of us.
Oh my God, her language is so fucked up. She's wasting away in front of us. Bro, please check your language choices.
It's similar to, I don't know, for example, making fun of a celebrity for having a minor bit of cellulite or having, I don't know, breasts.
It's the same thing, Chelsea. Talking about Ariana is the same thing as commenting on people with bigger bodies or cellulite. Stop doing it.
That aren't super perky or whatever the case may be. And trust me, we do plenty of that. But I think it's very disingenuous to not acknowledge that these are completely different things. And that if we are capable of being honest with ourselves as a society about, and of using some critical thinking and of separating things out into their rightful categories, that there should be no issue in accurately addressing a not just personal illness, but societal illness.
But please note that this whole video is just Chelsea being upset about some comments she got, which she didn't even put on screen to give us some evidence. And then what? What's the point of this video? Where's the hopeful message in this video?
For what it is, because to be clear, disordered eating and thinness, in addition to being heavily socially valorized, is also incredibly contagious and incredibly competitive. This is the kind of thing that propagates itself amongst all of the people, not just in their personal circles like we saw on the Wicked tour, but also the people watching them at home, the people who are looking at those performances over and over, studying them because it's their dream to look like that and to have so many people worried about them. And I actually would argue that in terms of downplaying and denying the responsibility.
Yeah, Chet said, I know Chelsea's language is harsh, but is there a correct way to comment on the concern for Ariana ZD? No, you don't know her. She's not your friend. You don't get to be concerned about Ariana Grande in public. She's not your friend. You don't know her. You can talk to your friends about it. You can talk to your loved ones about it. No, you don't know her. This is a bad parasocial relationship to sit here and say, oh my God, I care so much about Ariana. Girl, she does not know you. She does not care about you. Okay, she's busy breaking up married couples. Leave Ariana alone. She's busy sleeping with married men. You know what I mean? Like, at the end of the day, like, this obsession with knowing, like, we don't know this girl. But I'll tell you this, when you talk about Ariana, your family members are listening to you, and that's the point. Okay?
That we have to call this out and to name it for what it is even more dangerous in the case of something like disordered eating that results in extreme thinness than, for example, things like drug and alcohol addiction or other mental illness. Because unlike other mental health issues, including potentially deadly ones, being really thin is heavily socially rewarded. The women who are walking runways and on the cover of fashion magazines only look slightly less underweight than some of these celebrities do. So it is not just disingenuous to pretend.
Also, I think it's interesting, like, when I'm going to clip this for YouTube later, I'm thinking about the thumbnail. And I'm thinking about making sure I absolutely do not put Ariana Grande's pictures in the thumbnail of her looking underweight, because how the fuck up are you doing that for? Look at Chelsea putting the photos in her thumbnail. How is that helping? Why are you exploiting Ariana's anorexia if you're so afraid for her for your fucking thumbnail? So I'm going to put a picture of Ari that's probably just her face and not her fucking body, because what are you doing? You're making money, okay? 200,000 views worth of money exploiting Ariana Grande's body because you want to quote lecture her for being sick? Do you know what I'm saying? Why are you putting her photos in your thumbnail?
Pretend that it isn't an issue that affects well beyond the person.
Okay, chatter. I'm gonna hold you majorly accountable right now. You've said this 4 or 5 times. You keep saying she's jealous, I swear. Chelsea suffers from eating disorder. Stop saying she's jealous. Like, that's not a serious thing when she's already suffering. You're saying it like you're getting her. You keep saying it in my chat. Stop. Because if Chelsea's suffering from an eating disorder and she also is envious of Ariana, that's still just mental health. And that should be devastating. I'm devastated for her. That Chelsea's obviously going through something and her content is a reflection of that. And you're in my chat being like, she's so jealous. She's so jealous. Well, if she has an eating disorder, she might just be. And that's devastating. So please, like, think about the way we're even talking about Chelsea, okay? We should think about that too.
Person who is experiencing it, especially if they're, on a massive national or international stage. But it's also disingenuous to pretend like this isn't the mental health issue that is also the most rewarded by society and therefore the most likely to be contagious and to be competitive and to spread amongst the people, not just in their immediate circles, but around them. But I think, though, in addition to there being a real cynicism and a quite sinister agenda in shutting down this conversation or gaslighting people into thinking that it's somehow misogynist to acknowledge a woman who's dying, or that it is no different than making fun of someone who you just don't think is attractive enough or whatever, putting those all...
Again, human zoo, this woman is dying. Chelsea is not, it's not appropriate for Chelsea, in my mind, to take it upon herself to feel like she's battling for Ariana. Like, the truth is when you watch every day, people die slowly. Because that's what happens when you're a person. We die. That's what we're doing. Whether we're smoking or jumping out of airplanes or starving ourselves, we're existing in a reality where we're one step closer to dying every day. And taking some moral high ground about being so afraid that this woman is wasting away. Like, that's not, I don't know how that's helping. It's sad, or it is what it is, but Ariana isn't the only person suffering. People suffer every day. All these people taking, bets on when Eugenia Cooney will die and she's still alive. You guys are fucked up. You need to meditate on this. You need to go to therapy about this. I don't sit here all day thinking about these things because I think it's fucked up to think about these things. I think that's a fucked up message to send into the universe. Stop thinking about it. Sit with it about your own relationship with self. But I don't sit there and wonder, when is Eugenia Cooney going to die? What? Hopefully in her 70s. Hopefully in her 80s. Why are you guys sitting here hoping she dies? When is Ariana gonna die? Hopefully in her 80s. But you're sitting here talking about like this woman is wasting away, and how devastating would that be? But this video feels like she's almost celebrating it, the possibility. And I think it's gross.
Into the same category. I think there's also a few other things that absolutely need to be touched on, in part because they came up in the comments of the video I made. First being, would you say this about a fat person? Now, in addition to what we've already acknowledged, which is that being extremely thin is heavily socially encouraged. So you can't really even compare those two. To be underweight is celebrated. To be even a little bit overweight, especially if you're a public figure, is basically impossible. I think we're all pretty familiar by now about how our culture treated Lena Dunham for, committing the crime of being a size 10 or whatever on our...
Yes, but what was the problem from society? They were commenting on her body. What was the issue? Was the commentary about her body. That was the issue. The issue isn't that people are fat. The issue is that you keep commenting about how they're fat. Stop talking about people's bodies. She's not getting it. It doesn't matter that society rewards thinness. What matters is that we're talking about their bodies. That's why these girls, that's why it ends up happening the way it is. And by the way, eating disorders are up in young boys because of the internet. Just FYI, boys are catching up with eating disorders. It's basically equal now because Instagram is also impacting them. Look at Clavicular, who just did a live stream of his nose job. He just did with Dr. Miami. They just did a live stream of his nose job. Boys are literally starving themselves, looks maxing and all these other things. So again, the way we're having the conversation, it feels all very irresponsible to me.
our television screens. So I don't even think those two things are comparable. We are already constantly castigating overweight and obese people, essentially 24/7 for daring to not be skinny. Even leaving that aside though, would I say that to identify the problem we are seeing is comparable to, I don't know, pointing and laughing at an overweight woman on the street? Absolutely not. But would I say it's comparable to, I don't know, a show like My 600 Pound Life, which is an extremely popular television show that's been on for like a decade plus, where people who weigh 600 pounds or more are essentially paraded around on television, again, not unlike a human zoo exhibit, and also repeatedly told, both in the context of the show and by the viewing audience, that they are about to die. That is the entire premise of the show. TLC as a channel is like largely...
But isn't Chelsea's video the TLC version of the show? Because you're the one making the content talking about how Ariana is going to die. You're the one calling her an animal in a human zoo. You're the first person I heard calling it an animal zoo. You're the first. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't go into these bubbles on purpose. So Chelsea's the first example I've seen of someone specifically being, quote, you know what I mean? Like, I don't understand how you're not doing the same thing TLC is doing. And like, it's not completely analogous. I know this, but you know what I'm saying? Like, what are you doing?
Founded on just pointing at extremely large people and saying, whoa, isn't that crazy? Like, we already do that constantly. And I do think it's valid to say some of the people on shows like My 600 Pound Life are just as much at risk as someone like an Ariana Grande on those stages. In fact, some of the people on those shows have...
Okay, do those people not deserve to be in public? Because that's what conservatives try to do. They try to say, if you're too fat, you shouldn't be seen in public. You know, that's why the fat positive movement started, the body positive movement started, because fat people were being made fun of for being at the gym fat. And so they started to make a safe space at the gym for you to be fat, because people even bully fat people for going to the gym. Are you saying like fat people can't exist in public? Because that's what you're saying. Only it's about Ariana, that skinny people can't exist in public. That's what you're saying.
Since passed away. Also, some of the celebrities who have similarly struggled with eating disorders have passed away. So if you're going to compare apples to apples, it's not fair to just say, oh, I don't know, Lizzo or pre-2023 Meghan Trainor, whoever it is you want to talk about, who constantly gets made fun of and criticized in the public eye. I don't think that's the same, because I think that you're deliberately taking an extreme example and comparing it to one that is not extreme. But I understand why people do that, because they are just never, ever going to miss an opportunity to shame fat people. That's just sort of... I don't know at this point. And I do think, by the way, like my only other experience is I live in France, obviously. And I will say that if America is body negative, France is Mad Max beyond Thunderdome. And I've heard it on credible authority that most other countries beyond America are even more hostile to overweight people. So I'm certainly not here to say that America is the worst offender, but definitely America runs no shortage of castigating fat people, especially fat women, especially if they're in the public eye. So I really even reject that framing and consider it, if anything, a distraction. I do not think it's fair to compare a situation like Ariana Grande to your average person who's like a size 16. The other incredibly disingenuous...
There's something there, but I don't know what it is yet, but there's something there.
Distraction that I think gets brought up in this conversation over and over again is the GLP-1 issue. I have said this a million times, I will say it again. I have used in the past a GLP-1. I went from basically my entire adult life being a size 6 roughly to gaining a not small amount of weight in a relatively short period of time through anxiety-induced binge eating. I got up to about a size 10-ish. I couldn't wear any of my clothes. I felt like shit. It was not a good time of my life. I used a GLP-1. It's one of the better decisions I think I've ever made for my health. It kickstarted so many healthy habits for me. And even after going off of them for quite some time, I found that I just like did not restart those bad habits. Your mileage may vary. I've made an entire full-length video about this and also a video about it on my TikTok where I go into great detail. I, to be honest, did not want to make those videos because I understand that the second I am open about the fact that I've used a GLP-1, that it invites all kinds of insane criticism like the...
No. Chad says, oh, she lives in France. I get it now. No, she lives in New York 6 months and 1 day out of the year. And she lives in France the other 5 and almost 6 months. Because she has 2 homes, one in New York and one in France. Do you know what I'm saying? And now Chelsea, who was, God forbid, a size 10, went on a GLP-1, which is fine. I'm not going to comment on Chelsea's decision with her body. She has every right to take that GLP-1. It's none of my business. That's what I'm saying. It's none of my business if she takes a GLP-1. It has nothing to do with me. Ariana's eating disorder has nothing to do with me. It's not my business because I'm not her friend and I assume she's struggling. So my empathy is with her. I hope she finds a way to recover. I'm rooting for her. The issue is Chelsea is making Ariana's eating disorder her business. And I'm saying it's not your business, Chelsea. It's her family's business and her friend's business. Just like your GLP-1 is not my business. I'm never going to criticize Chelsea for taking it. It's not my business.
The number of times I've been called fat phobic because I admitted to the fact that I would rather not have to buy an entirely new wardrobe and just try to
see. So you'll buy a whole new $1 million house, but you won't buy new clothes because you gained some weight. Do you know what I'm saying?
Wean myself off of my, at the time, horrible food habits and get back into a body that I personally felt comfortable and active in is neither here nor there. I was honest about it because I believe in transparency and I didn't want anyone to speculate on something and wonder why things seemed maybe relatively easy for me when it wasn't for them, when not only do I generally believe in transparency, but these are also subjects that we've covered multiple times on the channel, so it would be very hypocritical of me not to be open about them, even though just like with talking about money, that means fielding some criticisms. I honestly don't care what you think about my decision to use a GLP-1. It really doesn't matter to me. I'm just saying.
Okay, well, don't you think that's how Ariana feels about her eating disorder? That she doesn't care what Chelsea Fagan or any of these other people think. Don't you understand that Chelsea gets so defensive when people say you look 50? She gets so defensive when people talk about her GLP-1, and she doesn't think that Ariana's also going through that. How do you think Ari feels watching you make a think piece about her body? You know what I'm saying? Like, why are you making think piece? You could be talking to girls in this video. You could be talking to boys. You could be talking to people in this video, but instead you're just defending your right to criticize Ariana's body. I wish this video was 32-minute video was a video about how we as a society could do better by supporting each other with eating disorders, but instead it's a video basically making fun of somebody with an eating disorder.
It for the sake of honesty and, some sense of values in this constant hall of mirrors, gaslighting nonsense that is our relationship to, appearance and weight and all of these things. But I also, if we're going to talk about what we know to be common sense versus what...
Common sense, huge conservative dog whistle. Common sense? Common sense? She says, don't insult my common sense. Chelsea, Habibi, please. Common sense?
Weight and all of these things. But I also, if we're going to talk about what we know to be common sense versus what we can easily see to be gaslighting, is that I actually don't think it is the same thing for, a person who has diabetes or a person who's been heavily overweight their whole life and wants help losing it, or a person like myself who went from one size to another size and then back to the size she's always been, has never even been close to underweight her entire life, including while using a GLP-1. I don't think those are the same things as someone intentionally using a GLP-1 to facilitate an eating disorder. If anything, if we're really going to play the ED card, I use mine to help stop disordered behavior because yes, although it is often not thought of as such, binge eating is also a form of disordered eating. And for many of us, we understand that compulsive eating, especially for certain foods, that it can be just as debilitating and can really consume our mental health just like any other type of more...
This just feels very conservative to me. Like, yes, you struggled. I'm very empathetic to that. I'm devastated that Chelsea seems to be really going through something the last year. I don't know what's going on, but it's not my business. My business is to decide if I could promote Chelsea anymore. And after this video, yeah, I can't. I can't in good conscience talk about Chelsea Fagan's channel as something I can promote to my viewers. And that sucks because I used to promote the fuck out of her channel to people. Like anytime someone talked about finance, I was like, watch Chelsea Fagan. And now how can I tell people in good conscience to go watch a woman who makes this type of content on a channel with 1 million subscribers? Do you know what I'm saying? Like this could have been a beautiful video about coming together and uplifting our communities and talking about struggle and how real it is and how empathetic we are to people who struggle. But it's not that. Human zoo, withering away, you know what I mean? Like dying in front of us, like, oof, Chelsea.
Restrictive disorder can. What I'm trying to say in this is that throwing out the distraction of, hey, but
Yeah, Chet says, I totally understand why you hesitate to recommend YouTubers now. I hesitate to recommend anybody. Books. I mean, the other day, Chelsea was talking about how much she loves Scott Galloway. Ugh. Scott Galloway? She was like, I love him. Scott Galloway? Chelsea, hello, wake up. Oh my God, wake up, Chelsea. Scott Galloway? I can't recommend anybody anymore. What is this?
GLP-1s, as if those are not incredibly life-changing for the positive medication for millions of people around the world, and are also perfectly able to be used in a healthy, sustainable way, and also help many people break out of disordered habits rather than get into them to make that the culture.
Oh, Discord said, do you think Chelsea's also suffering from being in a boy bubble a little bit because of her finance space? Okay, great point. I think it's finance bubble plus Sex and the City bubble. So she's hanging out with women over 50 who are all divorcees, right? And their hustle girl culture plus Scott Galloway boy bubble. Perfect storm of conservatism. Gen X liberalism. Gen X liberalism right here. Women in their 50s, Gen X liberalism. She is absolutely trapped in that vortex of Gen X thinking. And no offense to Gen Xers, y'all need to work on it. You need to work on your deconstruction, okay?
just because
Gen Xers are the kinds of people you meet in BDSM dungeons who are all about kiki sex, but also vote MAGA. Gen Xers are the people that say, oh my God, I love porn and liberation and women's nudity. I also date girls who are 21. Gen Xers are like, racism is over because we solved it. And also like, no one pays attention to us. Like Gen Xers can be really chill at pride parades, but then, you know, kind of make fun of non-binary people, right?
Because some people are abusing them, I find to be deeply, deeply unfair. And also, again, in my opinion, rather cynical, because there are plenty of people who take mental health drugs or pain medication or all kinds of other pills in a safe, sustainable, healthy, doctor recommended and followed way. There are also plenty of people who abuse those prescription medications, use them to get high, completely derail their life with those medications. Does it mean that they should be completely forbidden or illegal? I would argue.
I will say this though, I really like this top she's wearing. I'm really into this meshy kind of thing.
You know, does it also mean that those medications are inherently unethical because some people abuse them? No. As I've also said in other videos, these disorders have existed well before the prevalence of GLP-1s and will exist, I'm sure, long after them if they ever fall out of common use. But whether it's what about fat people or what about GLP-1s or what about this, that, and the other, all of these to me feel like extreme distractions because as I said in the very beginning, when I went back and watched some of the conversation around Karen Carpenter at the time, this is not to be like a boomer take of like, wow, everything was so much better before. We had it so much more together as a society. But I do think that there was like a little bit less of the simultaneous hyper awareness of all of the problems of our society and a complete inability to talk about them honestly.
This is a conservative talking point. I'm just telling the truth. Society wants to stop me from speaking the truth. You're fat and unhealthy. That's just science. It's just science. You cannot be fat and healthy. You're so anti-science. I know what I'm seeing. Don't scrutinize or don't insult my intelligence. I know science, and the science says you can't be a fatty and healthy. I know. This is literally conservative talking points. The world just says, I have real conversations. It's like, girl, you're not having a real conversation. You're having one I've heard my whole life from conservatives.
When it comes to the absolute epidemic of women being dangerously thin in the public eye, we're all able to say that the
obesity epidemic, the anorexia epidemic, how about the philosophy epidemic? This is what I'm saying. Saying obesity epidemic is also a conservative talking point. Saying anorexia epidemic, like, girl, come on. You're basically pointing the finger at people. Point the finger at the system. Look at the system and ask yourself, you know what I mean? Stop talking about the victims of the system and start talking about the system.
Is a problem. Yet relatively few people will then go the extra step and say, and these are people who are deeply suffering from that problem, and we should probably not support them financially while—
Oh, there it is! There it fucking is!
And these are people who are deeply suffering from that problem, and we should probably not support them financially while they are actively putting their life at risk every day.
This is so fucking offensive. I am to my core shook. This is such an aggressive conservative talking point. If you're disabled, you should be hidden away. If you are ugly to society, you should be hidden away. If you are not acceptable by my terms, you shouldn't have a job. You shouldn't make money. We shouldn't be supporting you. You don't deserve to exist. Like, oh my God. The woman has an eating disorder. She's not a pedophile. Fucking fuck. The woman literally has an eating disorder. Relax. Like, do you know what I'm saying? Oh, you have an eating disorder? You don't get to have a job? What are we talking about? This is the most insane take, and the way her comment section is just fucking eating this up is ridiculous. Oh, chat says I missed it. Let me rewind it for you.
Being dangerously thin in the public eye, we're all able to say that this is a problem. Yet relatively few people will then go the extra step and say, and these are people who are deeply suffering from that problem, and we should probably not support them financially while they are actively putting their life at risk every day. We should probably not normalize that. We should probably not endorse that. In my opinion, if we were more capable—
Literally, conservatives have said the same thing to me about fat people. Brittany, I don't think it's right to go support this fat woman and to support the way she looks and to support— I'm sorry, not beautiful. My name is Jordan Peterson, and I make fun of fat women on TikTok and Twitter. Remember when Jordan Peterson, on the cover of the men's magazine, there was this woman who was like, he was like, not beautiful. We shouldn't be glorifying fat people. What the fuck are you talking about? This is literally conservative talking points. This is literally Jordan Peterson telling women they should exist in bodies they exist in, and they're not allowed to be on magazine covers because it supports unhealthy eating. What is she thinking? What is she thinking with this video? You know, she says Ariana has nobody who loves her enough to get her off stage. Nobody loves you enough, Chelsea, to take down this video. Take down this video.
Of directly confronting these issues, including in things like interviews. And again, no one needs to be doing it in the insanely tone-deaf way of some of these Karen Carpenter interviews. But if we could even acknowledge it up front, or like, for example, certain publications will say, we are not going to run an extremely dangerously underweight person in our magazine or on our cover. We're not going to have them on our show. We're not going
there it is.
Carpenter interviews. But if we could even acknowledge it up front, or like, for example, certain publications will say, we are not going to run an extremely dangerously underweight person in our magazine or on our cover.
There it is. That's the Jordan Peterson argument. Jordan Peterson, fat model, men's magazine. This is exactly what Jordan Peterson said about that beautiful model, that she shouldn't be on the cover of the magazine because she was fat. This is what I'm saying about Chelsea Fagan. What are you saying, girly? My sister in Christ, what are you saying? Jordan Peterson literally looked at this woman and said, sorry, not beautiful. She shouldn't be on a cover of a magazine. Ugh, I don't want to see this person's body. There are people who think this woman is dangerously overweight, that she is risking her health, that she doesn't deserve to exist on covers of magazines. What is Chelsea talking about? What are you talking about, Chelsea? What is the end of this? Right? Like, what is the end of this? That Ariana can't be seen in public? Sorry, not beautiful. And no amount of authoritarian tolerance is going to change that. That's what Chelsea sounds like right now. Sorry, not beautiful Ariana Grande. How dare you exist in your body and suffer with an eating disorder? Ew. That's what you sound like to me, girl. Get it together, please.
We're not going to have them on our show. We're not going to promote their projects. If that were more normalized, or if more people were to say, I'm actually not going to buy a ticket to the concert or the show or the movie of someone who is, again, not just genuinely and actively harming themselves, but also making that harm seem more normal and aspirational to the countless, especially young women and little girls who are watching it. Like, if it were more acceptable to not just be honest about the problem, but to be honest about when and where we see it happening, in my view, the best outcome with this Ariana Grande situation would have been that after the Wicked press tour, there would have been enough clear-eyed, honest cultural conversation about this, enough pushback in the media, enough pushback from fans, that we would not be putting this on stage so that people can come and watch an extremely sick person half-heartedly dance around for 2 hours. We would not have even put this show on. And
yeah, Chet says, dude, would people not buy a ticket if someone had cancer? The problem is Chelsea is judging Ariana's sickness. She's putting a moral judgment on her sickness because she thinks it's a choice. She thinks Ariana Grande is sick on purpose. Because that's the only way she could have this opinion. That's the only way she could have this opinion. You know what I mean? Right? Like, how else are you going to have this opinion? Is she sick? What do you want her to do? Disappear? Again, I really want to respect Chelsea, right? Guys, don't tell Chelsea to shut up. Like, girl, shut up, please. Shut up is kind of mean, but like, I'm not telling Chelsea to shut up. I don't want to silence Chelsea. I want Chelsea to realize how much harm she's doing. And I just want her to be like, take this video down, girl. I don't want to be Chelsea's enemy. I don't want to tell Chelsea to shut up. I don't want to tell any woman to be quiet. I'm asking her, if you're going to speak so loudly, please consider the harm you're doing, right? I don't want to silence women. I don't want to silence women. I want you guys to all speak. I just want you to consider what you're doing. Sick people deserve to make money. They deserve to have jobs. People who are suffering deserve to exist in spaces with us. They deserve to be invited to the get-togethers. They deserve to come on a girls' night out. They deserve to exist. They deserve to take, pictures of themselves feeling cute. They deserve to exist. And I don't want to see them shunned or hidden away because, guys, I mean, you know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to silence Chelsea Fagan because sometimes I do think when I make videos about Chelsea, it feels like I'm trying to say she shouldn't exist. Like, people are saying, oh, you're so jealous of Chelsea. You're just jealous she's successful. I'm not jealous. I am concerned that I thought she was a leftist. I thought she was a progressive. I thought we were getting away from policing women's bodies and bragging about girl bossing our way to a second house in a province that has begged people to stop buying homes in that neighborhood. I thought we were considering immigration and people's economic state. I thought we were moving away from unnecessary overconsumption. I'm concerned. Maybe I just misunderstood Chelsea's brand. But she keeps talking about how much she cares about women while making a 30-minute video saying that this woman should not only be not seen in public, not given a job, not given any sort of community, but should be abandoned. You know?
This person would be probably in inpatient treatment in the hospital, or at least with loved ones out of the public eye, where they're not constantly making this seem normal and acceptable and even beautiful. As I said at the beginning of this video, I think that we are in a very, very scary moment for feminism, because not only do we have...
Okay, this is the worst part of the video, I feel. Evoking feminism is so interesting to me.
This video, I think that we are in a very...
Also notice that does Chelsea ever interview trans women? Aren't all the women over 50 she keeps interviewing cis? Which feminism do you mean? Do you mean second wave feminism, turfy feminism? Or are we talking about liberated feminism, gender inclusive feminism? Which feminism?
Very scary moment for feminism, because not only do we have the problems that we've always had, the impossible standards to live up to, the extreme thinness coupled with the extreme youth culture, all of these things that have always existed and probably will always exist to some extent, or I don't know, let's assume we'll maybe have some sort of like post-beauty standard utopia at some point. But either way, on top of all of the things that have always been a problem, we've now figured out how to weaponize extremely strategic and cynical social justice language or feminist language to pretend as if even acknowledging these problems that, to be clear, affect all of us as we watch them is somehow bigoted or misogynist or at minimum insensitive. That's a really crucial difference, right? We not only now are watching people be sick in public, we can't even say that they're sick because that makes us the bad person.
Well, given the context of the conversation, again, it's okay for you to personally think someone's sick. And it's okay for us to say, oh, I wonder if they're suffering from this, versus saying like, oh, you're weaponizing her sickness. That's why I tell you guys, be very empathetic to NPD, people diagnosed with NPD. That's why I don't sit there and go like, ooh, narcissists are evil. They're always evil. They'll never be good people. I say, hey, they're suffering. People with NPD are suffering people. I tell you this with every person who is suffering, they are still suffering. That's why in this chat, we don't allow people to attack people for diagnoses. If you think someone is suffering from NPD, you're not allowed to discount them and say, oh, they're evil, they'll never recover. But like, no, that's not how we're going to talk about people with anything. We're not going to talk this way about people.
Personally reject this. I also personally reject the distraction that you can't be extremely critical of this being put on a world tour for people to buy tickets to and still think it's bad to make fun of random people's appearances, or that those are even the same things. I personally reject that framing. I also reject the framing that if you correctly identify that some of these celebrities are actively killing themselves, that you should just then go out and make fun of a random overweight person for being overweight. I also reject the idea that just because GLP-1s now are one of many things that are being used to facilitate disordered eating, that means all GLP-1s are bad, or anyone who's used them is part of disordered eating culture, or whatever the case may be. I reject all of these things. I don't know if that makes me woke or not woke, or like where I fall on the spectrum. I don't care anymore.
Because she's a Gen X conservative. See, I don't care if that's woke or makes me woke or where I fall. I don't care anymore. Conservative. These are conservative talking, but that's exactly how conservatives talk. I'm telling you, all of us guys, all of us are susceptible to becoming conservatives, because as the times change, that's why Democrats are considered conservative now. If you're a Democrat, you're conservative, girlies. Like, I don't know what to tell you, right? The Democrat Party thinks we can reform capitalism and make America great again. Like, they just don't say it the way MAGA does. And I'm saying you're conservative, you know? That's why I say to you, if you become stagnant in your politic and your philosophy, you'll become conservative, because conservative is a stagnation of the time. We must always be deconstructing. We must always look towards the youth. Listen, the youth, they know ahead of time what's up. And then the older people should have the wisdom, and we exchange in a symbiotic way. You give me the wisdom of your youth, I give you the wisdom of my age, and us together, we create a better world. But if Chelsea admits that she doesn't watch young people, she doesn't care what young people are saying, she's doing the very thing that conservatives often do as they age. They stop listening to young people because, quote, they know better. How do you know better if you're stuck in your ways? This is such a Gen X perspective. That's why she's hanging out with people in their 50s.
I don't know if that makes me woke or not woke, or like where I fall on the spectrum. I don't care anymore, frankly. I don't actually care what the politically correct opinion to have on this issue.
Politically correct, huge dog whistle. Huge fucking dog whistle. common sense, politically correct. Our girl is going to start voting conservative. Our girl is that she's lost in the sauce. She's completely become a conservative. Like, she might not be Trump, but she, you know what I'm saying? What is this video? What is this video?
I just know that when I open my TikTok and I see Ariana Grande looking frankly fucking terrifying, I say to myself,
terrifying, scary. This is very ableist language. How could you look at somebody who's sick and you're like, oh my God, she's terrifying. She's so scary. She's sick. Habibi, she's sick. She's literally sick. It's hurting my feelings, bro. It's hurting. Oh my God, bro. Girly, she's sick.
I don't know how parents of daughters are doing it right now, knowing that their little girls are going to open up their phones and see this. Like, that is terrifying to me.
Exactly, chat. Exactly. Dang, all of this after her apology for a piece she wrote forever ago that she did not learn. She didn't learn. Thank you. Exactly my point. So here's Chelsea Fagan, who wrote this article when she was 22 about how if women dress slutty, they shouldn't be surprised they're sexually assaulted. And she's like, I've learned from this. Well, obviously not. Because what the fuck is this video? In 2026, what the fuck is this video? That's why I say it's so hard to learn, it's so hard to change. It takes every part of us to be like, okay, hold on. It's so difficult to be a good person, you know? And this is what I mean to say when I say, see, she feels like she's like, I'm never, I'm always going to correct myself. I'm always going to learn. This is why I say she bought the second house in France. And I promise you, it goes against all of the content she's been making, even if people are misunderstanding it. There's no way that Chelsea, that's been saying the rich is evil, we should eat the rich, and capitalism sucks, is turning around and buying a second fucking house that she doesn't need. You need 2 houses when Girly doesn't even have one. People don't even have 1 house. And you're out here buying 2? Who do you think you're buying the house from? Chelsea, if you have 2 houses, who do you think has one less house? The locals in that neighborhood. Chelsea, think. Don't you know if you own more of the houses, less people own houses? We're in a housing crisis and you're taking a house from somebody that needs a house. Why don't you guys get why you can't have multiple houses? It doesn't make sense. If you're a leftist, why would you need multiple houses unless you're putting a family in the house? Unless you are buying the house for your mother or a family member, and not to be a landlord, I'm saying unless you buy that house to put a family in that house who needs housing, you are just taking the house from people who need houses. What are we talking about?
That one of the biggest pop stars in the world who's on one of...
And true, Chad says we don't even know if it's technically an eating disorder. It could be drug addiction. It could be anything. The point is, it's not our business. Somebody knows what to do for Ariana. We should be talking to our family and friends. We should be talking about our loved ones. We should be concerned about the people in our lives.
Probably going to be the biggest tours of the decade right now, looks like that, is in that position. Not only is no one in the media really directly talking about this, but also we have found a way, even amongst the everyday fans, to shut down any conversation about this and to do it while feeling morally superior. That to me is an incredibly...
You feel so morally superior in this whole video, Girly.
...scary moment in our culture. It's an incredibly scary moment for quote unquote feminism, whatever's left of it. And as I say in the video...
Oh my God. She's talking about how these people are so cynical and where's the hope in this whole video, Girly? I'll give it to you at the end. Don't worry. You stay put for Auntie Brady's hope at the end over here, okay?
Incredibly scary moment for our collective intelligence. I will not have my collective intelligence insulted. I will not acknowledge this for what it is. Sorry if this offends. But also not that sorry, because I do fear that for a lot of you, people will have to start dying for you to wake up. And even then it won't be enough. Even then it won't be enough. You will still play these rhetorical games and you will still hide behind this nonsense. Not on this channel though. All right, I gotta get ready. We're filming all day tomorrow. See you around the channel. Stay safe. I'm sure these comments will be completely normal.
You don't need to live for us. You are not obligated to stay alive for anybody but yourself. I hope you choose to stay alive for you. But you're not a bad person if you die. You're not a bad person if you're sick, and you're certainly not a bad person because you're trying to work and be sick at the same time. You're not a bad person for simply existing in your body, and you're not a bad person for suffering. The world has always suffered and people have always been dying, but I'm not about to turn around and guilt people for dying. Because that's what Chelsea just said. Oh, people are going to have to start dying before you care. People are already dying right now everywhere. It is not going to help the people suffering for us to act like they're the problem. Ariana Grande is not the problem when it comes to eating disorders. She is a victim of an eating disorder. She didn't create them. They're not a part of her business model. They are the reality of the relationship she's having with herself. She's suffering. And she is not obligated to stay alive in a society where Chelsea Fagan makes videos making fun of her. Because think about that, huh? What hope is Ariana Grande supposed to have and all these people suffering from eating disorders that they get to exist in a world with Chelsea Fagan? Great. Sounds great. You know what I'm saying? Why would I want to continue living in a world where I'm just going to be made fun of for simply existing? A world where Chelsea Fagan says I don't deserve to work or be in public because of the way I look. Because that was Chelsea's video. Chelsea's video was because of the way Ariana is sick, she doesn't deserve to exist in public. Sounds like a great existence. That definitely makes me want to stay alive for sure. I'm being sarcastic. Okay? Whatever Ariana is going through, I hope she gets the help she needs, like the way I hope everyone gets the help they need. But there are so many things we can do as a community. We can remind people that they deserve to exist. You certainly do. That your suffering is relatable. I think we're all suffering. But the good news is there are ways to get to recovery. The good news is there are a lot of reasons to stay alive and live a good life. But whether or not you suffer from eating disorder for the rest of your life does not, for me, matter as much as you getting to exist in our lives. Like, I am concerned that you're sick, but because you're sick does not mean you don't deserve to exist. I hope Ariana lives a very long life. I hope Eugenia Cooney lives a very long life. I hope every person suffering with an eating disorder lives a very long and fruitful and exciting existence. I hope everyone who's suffering from depression and suicidal ideation and OCD and schizophrenia and any of the other things we're all suffering from, PTSD and depression, I hope we still get to exist for as long as we're able to with our family and friends, while working and making money and not being ashamed about the bodies we exist in. I don't understand why Chelsea's making this content, but I do feel for the last year or so, her content has gone downhill. And I am devastated that she's going in this direction, though I'm not surprised, given the fact that she keeps hanging around with people that are older. And this is why I say, as much as I don't want to talk badly about older people, you guys are not doing the work to deconstruct. And because you're not doing the work, and because you scoff at younger people and think they're silly, you know, you're missing the point that we're not talking this way about people anymore. Don't talk about Ariana this way. She's suffering. Don't talk about anybody this way. People deserve to be sick and exist in public and have jobs. They deserve to find love. They deserve to have children. They deserve to have a good life. Being sick does not make you less worthy. It just doesn't. And that's the message I feel like Chelsea is trying to insinuate or just say, that if you were sick, you were unworthy. And I don't believe that. And I, to be fair, don't even think Chelsea believes that. But I think she's struggling in the same way that 22-year-old Chelsea is struggling when she wrote that article that if you dress provocatively, you're probably going to be, you know, you can't be surprised if you're essayed. I think all of us go through stages of shedding our programming, patriarchy, conservative values, and it takes a lot of work to stay consistently present in your deeply held values. I'd like to believe that if Chelsea was alone and I could talk to her, she would say, of course, I don't think being sick means you shouldn't be seen in public. And I'd say, then think about what you just said. But Chelsea probably isn't going to listen to me or watch my channel. She'll probably think I'm a hater. I mean, her viewers came into my chat already saying, like, you're just a hater. You're so jealous of Chelsea Fagan. I'm not jealous of Chelsea Fagan. I'm tired. I'm so tired of existing in a world where people question whether or not people have questioned me, whether or not I should be making content. Because I was diagnosed BPD or because I'm autistic. Oh, do you think it's healthy for you to be out here talking about relationship advice and stuff when you have BPD? Okay, but what are my ethics like? What are my morals like? Are my morals good? Are my ethics good? Who cares if I'm diagnosed BPD? Who cares if I'm diagnosed autistic? Who cares if I'm diagnosed with a disability? Who cares? But people, you would say to me, do you think that's weird? Don't you think that maybe is bad? No. You can be healthy and be BPD. You can be healthy and be autistic. You can be healthy and be disabled. You can be healthy and be disabled. Because the health we're talking about is the relationship with self. You can suffer from a sickness and an illness and still be a good person. Very disappointed in this video from Chelsea Fagan. And even more disappointed at the amount of comments who supported her. I refuse to let feminism die. Yes, girl. Which feminism, girls? Which feminism? You know what I mean? Which feminism? Can somebody explain that to me? What if it's a Chadwick Boseman situation? Okay, and we should still be having conversations about why a seemingly terminally ill cancer patient is doing a concert tour because he couldn't lose his job. Fun fact, Chadwick Boseman, before he died, rest his soul, said he didn't want anyone to know he had cancer because he was afraid Disney would fire him, or Marvel. He was afraid that he would get fired from his job and he needed to make money for his family. Now, Ariana has a lot of money, that is true, but just because she is rich doesn't mean she doesn't deserve to be seen in public because she's sick. So you have to remember. So yes, people are saying we don't know what's going on with her because when Chadwick Boseman was sick, people talked about his body. He has an eating disorder. He's anorexic. They were making fun of him. And that's why there was such a, like a big, to find out he had cancer and that he died. Chadwick died. The lesson of Chadwick dying was for us to learn to keep our mouths shut. If Ariana, God forbid, dies early, God forbid, it will be a message for us to keep our fucking mouths shut. And to go talk to our family and friends about their illnesses and their sufferings, not to make fun of Ariana. Especially since a lot of people with eating disorders do say that the more people comment on how skinny they are, the more they feel empowered to stay in their suffering. So I'm saying, okay, whatever helps the person suffering. But this really feels like Chelsea just used this as a reason to make this video because she is suffering herself, and I'm very empathetic to that. But I feel like there were better ways to make this video. Okay? I'm so sorry if you're suffering. But just like I said with Kelly Osbourne and everybody else, this is none of my business. I hope they get the support they need. And all I can do is talk to my family and friends about it and remind the people in my life that I love them and they are worthy and they deserve to exist and they deserve to be seen and they deserve to be loved. Including Chelsea Fagan. Whatever Chelsea's going through right now, she deserves to be loved. She deserves to be seen. I would never tell you to stop watching Chelsea Fagan. I might have to stop promoting her generally, but I would never tell you to stop watching Chelsea. If she brings you joy, keep watching her. But the fact that she said we should boycott Ariana and stop going to her concerts because she's sick, that's pretty terrible. I think that's unnecessarily cruel. And sends a message to every other person struggling that until we get a handle on our suffering, we don't get to exist and make art. You know what I'm saying? Like, how does that even make sense? Not to mention all the artists who have suffered for so many years when creating art. You know what I mean? I'm not saying you should suffer to make good art. I'm saying sometimes those things can overlap. And they deserve to feel liberated by making art while suffering. I hope you don't suffer in order to make good art because I don't think you have to. And at the same time, I do think that sometimes, you know, like I said, it overlaps. So if the best thing you could do is at least write a great book because of it, or make a great painting, or sing a beautiful song, you know, I'd rather have that than have them moved into a facility far away where we don't get to see them or witness them. Ridiculous. All right, let's read some comments and then we'll wrap up. Let's see. Chet says you can't cure a control-based issue by trying to control someone. What the fuck? I think people feel a parasocial responsibility, but I think it's up to the person in Ariana's life to say something because they have context. Chet says, especially when she doesn't even say her name right, like girl disrespect, I can't let it go. You can do great work, but I also know from experience there are times I wish I didn't have to work when dealing with trauma and diseases because it made fighting it harder for me, and I wanted the option for me and others, for sure. Like, I would love to give, like, obviously, like the same thing with Hassan, never take a day off or never going to therapy. Obviously, when you're in a position of power and wealth, it'd be better if you took time off and gave that as an image to your audience. And I think it's different because I'm not calling for Hassan to be not supported. Like, Chelsea is literally saying don't support Ariana Grande because she's sick. And I'm saying Hassan deserves a day off, right? Like, if only we all had the money to take time off to go get recovery, or if only we all had the money to go to therapy, if only we all had these resources. And yes, I do think in positions of power, but I think Ariana is just like, again, she's definitely like, there's some, you know, issues with married men and all that other stuff. But when just thinking about the eating disorder stuff, I just think it's really wrong for Chelsea, because this isn't about Ariana, right? This video really, my criticism isn't for Ariana, it's for Chelsea Fagan, who says in the name of helping people some of the most cruel stuff I've ever heard come out of someone's mouth. Her chat says when she's telling her fans she's the healthiest she's ever been, then yes, I feel perfectly comfortable calling her out. Maybe to her, she's the healthiest she's ever been, but she could be suffering. You can be the healthiest you've ever been. It could be true. That could be true. Ariana could be the healthiest now that she's ever been. That could be true. Well, she's suffering from an eating disorder, because she might mean all around. We're talking about a childhood star that got sexualized by Nickelodeon producers, made to lick feet in videos. She was literally a child star targeted by grown men in the industry. This actually could be the healthiest she's ever been. I think people forget how abused she was by those men, or how abused she was by that industry. We forget that Ariana Grande was absolutely taken advantage of as a kid. I don't know to what extent, but from what we've seen, doesn't feel good. So again, like I do think we have to remember that she is unpacking so much of what she's gone through as a child into her adulthood, all her breakups, the men she's dated, Mac Miller dying. Like there's so many layers to this. You know what I mean? It just feels very silly not to consider all of that stuff, you know? Yeah. Yeah, chat said, did you see the Cutie Cinderella stuff? Yeah, Cutie's been in a care facility for the last month, a patient, I forget what they call him, but she took she got a weekend pass to go chill and she was on the pod or whatever. But yeah, like people are going through stuff, you know? Right? Chat said, I don't know if it's ethical to call Ariana sick when we actually do not know if she is. Yeah, like, I think the issue is that I think it's fair to say she's traumatized and she's sick in the sense that she's talked about eating disorders in the past, but we don't know what she's sick with. And also, even if we think it's an eating disorder, okay, she has talked about it, to be fair. Okay, it is she has talked about it. But we don't know what else is going on. She could have other things going on, is my point, right? And we can say she's traumatized from her time as a childhood star. And in the same way, we're all traumatized under white supremacy and capitalism and all these other things. But there's different layers for each and every one of us. So yeah, I think it's wrong to act like we know what's wrong with Ariana, or to say that we specifically know all the layers of what's wrong with Ariana, or to specifically say, you know, and look at all these videos. Eternal denial, Ariana Grande in the conversation we're not allowed to have. What do you mean we're not allowed to have it? You're having it right now. Who is stopping you? You're talking about it. You're putting her body on blast. Who is holding you hostage? What is this video? What is this video? Ariana and the conversation we're not allowed to have. You're having it right now, girls. Who is holding you hostage? Why do you say this? Why are you clickbaiting her eating disorder? You're also fucking annoying to me, bro. Why are you acting like fucking victims out here, bro? Oh my God, we can't talk about Ariana's body. Who's stopping you? This is a choice. You decided to make this video. What was that? Wait, what was that? This video is not for... What was that? What was that thumbnail? Wait. Wrong or harmful. What was that? Oh, see? Example. Like, look at these thumbnails. Look at these exaggerated, like, edited thumbnails. Like, ridiculous, bro. Who is stopping you? Stuff pisses me off, bro. It's just like, it's so faux concern. It's just bullshit concern. Oh, I'm so concerned about these girls. It's literally Jordan Peterson making fun of fat people. You are not concerned about fat people. Stop talking about them. You know what I mean? Like, you're not concerned, bro. You're just trying to make money off Ariana. You're not concerned, dude. Ridiculous. Yeah, and Chad said, what about the diagnosed PTSD, the explosion that happened at her concert? Great example. Thank you. It's disappointing to see women especially get on this platform and fucking make concerned videos about Ariana's weight. Well, pretending somebody's keeping them from talking about it. Nobody is fucking, oh, the conversation we're not allowed to have. Like, let me show you this. So annoying, bro. Bro. This is, okay, hold on. This video is blurred. Hold on. This is literally everybody who's like, oh, they won't let us have this conversation. The conversation nobody lets us have. They're holding me hostage. I have no say. They're trying to silence me. No one's letting me talk about it. Girl, just stop. Stop it right now, bro. Oh my God. So stupid. It's so stupid. It's just so stupid. It's so unnecessary, bro. It's just so stupidly unnecessary. Anyways, okay, I'm annoyed. Stop talking about people's bodies unless you're gonna fucking make it an actually good video. Okay? I'm sick of these Ariana videos. You know what you're not gonna see from me in the next week? An Ariana video. It's none of my fucking business. Okay? I'm going to send you over to Anthony's stream. Have a good day, everybody. Have a good weekend. Stay safe and take care of yourselves. And remember that you deserve to exist and be seen in public no matter what you're going through. You are worthy. See you Monday. Bye-bye.